Chapter 908 Demon-like Intelligence. 1. This game is extremely simple. Let's guess who will die first, you or me. Ling Yan said with a smile. Sponsored content, cut the crap with him. Kill. Ling Yan was known to have demon-like intelligence. Although they had no idea what other cards Ling Yan had in his hand, they were a little restless when they faced such an intelligent person. Just in case anything happened, they had to kill Ling Yan in the fastest speed possible in order for their minds to be at ease. There are too many people that want my life. It's a pity that they always die before me. Ling Yan sighed softly. He turned a blind eye to the masses who surged towards him. He seemed completely relaxed, and no one could make sense of his calm composure. Swoosh. Sponsored content. At the same time, a bolt of light appeared from somewhere and penetrated through the dozens of people present. That bolt of light was extremely blinding, and no one could withstand its lethality. Heavenly Venerate. After sensing the power of this bolt of light, everyone widened their eyes in disbelief. Boom! Boom! In the next second, the bodies of the dozens of people turned into ashes from the bolt of light. Sponsored content. Witnessing the scene before him, Ling Yan's lips curled up slightly into a devilish smile. Such was the karma diversion. At this instant, the dozens of powerful figures, who initially besieged Ling Yan, were hit by the strike from the Heavenly Venerate due to the karma diversion. They turned into ashes and disappeared along with the wind. Anyone beneath a Heavenly Venerate is an ant, is it? Ling Yan stood with his hands behind him. His black hair danced in the wind as he looked up slowly with a faint smile. What about a Heavenly Venerate? At your peak, you were the demon god. Suddenly, the little azure dragon walked out from behind and spoke to Ling Yan. Demon god, you say? Ling Yan slowly looked away and shook his head gently. The so-called demon god had already become past tense. If possible, he hoped to become the legendary Divine Emperor in this lifetime and take a look at that even further, higher, and more mysterious world. Sponsored content. Ling Yan, you added the karma diversion on the heavenly demon pearl. This way, the strike of the Heavenly Venerate which Yi Qingtang bore will become your power boost. Not only will this resolve Yi Qingtang's crisis, but it even allowed you to obtain the inheritance of the true dragon. It truly is hitting two birds with one stone. The little azure dragon looked at Ling Yan and noted meaningfully. Hitting two birds with one stone, you say? Ling Yan smiled without saying much. However, I'm really curious about how you knew that Yi Qingtang would definitely be hit by a strike of a Heavenly Venerate. The little azure dragon was increasingly confused as it looked at Ling Yan. Before waiting for Ling Yan to speak, the little azure dragon suddenly said, "Don't say it yet. Let me take a guess. The Supreme Academy and Divine Virtual Academy are mortal enemies from the start. This time, a noble heir from the Feng ancient clan of the central mainland followed the team from the Divine Virtual Academy. Given his personality, he would definitely clash with the Supreme Academy, while the people from the Supreme Academy definitely would not dare to attack him because of his identity, and given Miss Ye's character, she would not watch from aside. But you lured the two Divine Virtual Academy disciples to the scene where Yi Qingtang killed perfected Gu Yun with a strike." The little azure dragon paused for a while and continued. As long as those two disciples tell the other Divine Virtual Academy disciples about the incident, the Divine Virtual Academy disciples would definitely be fearful or may treat Yi Qingtang as a Heavenly Venerate. As such, Yi Qingtang would have the opportunity to attack that noble. The more the little azure dragon spoke, the more it felt that its speculation was correct. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Note: please download the sponsor's game to support us. Chapter 909 Demon-like Intelligence. 2. Although that noble's skills are not powerful, as a noble heir of the Feng clan, he definitely had the means to protect his life and launch a deadly strike. In that case, your karma diversion was put to use, where you made use of the deadly strike from the noble heir of the Feng clan to help you obtain the inheritance of the true dragon. Am I right? The little azure dragon looked at Ling Yen with burning eyes. The more it speculated, the more it was overcome with emotion. Sponsored content. How intelligent is this Ling Yen exactly? He really possessed a demon-like intelligence. You are very smart too, Ling Yen said with a smile. Ling Yen, oh Ling Yen. From the moment you asked Miss Yi to deal with perfected Gu Yun, you have already schemed everything. You are in control of the entire situation, have an incredible foresight, and are extremely shrewd. TSK, you have my admiration. The little azure dragon remarked sincerely. Probably no one in this world could fully grasp Ling Yan's plan. However, Ling Yan, no matter how intelligent you are, I can guess of whatever you think of as well. The little azure dragon spoke once again before Ling Yan could speak. Sponsored content. Ling Yan nodded and said. But it's a pity that you missed out some things. The little azure dragon was alarmed when it heard what Ling Yan said and immediately shook its head. Missed out some things? How can it be? How would I miss anything out? Ling Yan looked at the little azure dragon and chuckled. In your opinion, what would the Jiang clan do when I helped Miss Yi to teach Yu, the granddaughter of the domain master Jiang Duantian, a lesson? Although the little azure dragon did not know why Ling Yan suddenly mentioned this, it still replied. I'm afraid you will be in great danger. Given your martial skills cultivation, since that's the case, what will happen if the Feng clan and the Jiang family fought? Ling Yan questioned again. Sponsored content. The Jiang family and the Feng clan. The little azure dragon was a little puzzled. The two ancient clans are extremely powerful. Although there are some minor conflicts usually, how could such strong ancient forces start a war for no reason? If someone from the Jiang family killed the grandson of the Feng ancient clan's grand elder, what would happen? Ling Yan smiled. Almost instinctively, the little azure dragon replied hurriedly. Do I still need to say? Of course they would get to the bottom of it. But is that possible? That noble heir will die in Yi Qingtang's hands, wouldn't he? What has this got to do with the Jiang family? But who would know that Miss Yi obtained the heavenly demon pearl? Ling Yan's lips tugged up slightly. As a smile bloomed on his face, his expression appeared a little more detached. You, the little azure dragon stared at Ling Yan in shock. Not only did you add the power of the karma diversion on the heavenly demon pearl, but there's also the interfering aura from the karma. Sponsored content. That's right. Ling Yan nodded slightly and said. That grand elder of the Feng clan left a streak of his spiritual power on his grandson. Once something happens to his grandson, the spiritual power would resurrect. If he sees that a lady with the heavenly demon bloodline killed his grandson, how do you think the grand elder of the Feng clan would think? The little azure dragon narrowed its eyes and looked at Ling Yan. If that's the case, the grand elder of the Feng clan would definitely think that the murderer of his grandson is from the Jiang family, because in the entire central mainland, only the Jiang family possesses the heavenly demon bloodline. Since you interacted with that Yi Yu previously, you used the power of karma to absorb the aura of her bloodline and transferred it to the heavenly demon Pearly with the power of your karma diversion. So, no matter what, the grand elder of the Feng clan will definitely believe that it was a member of the Jiang family who killed his grandson. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Note: please download the sponsor's game to support us. Ling Yan's hair swayed gently as he looked down with a faint smile without saying anything. However, Ling Yan, that grand elder should have seen Yi Qingtang's face. Will your plan really work? The little azure dragon was rather confused again. To kill perfected Gu Yun with one strike and still be alive after a venerate appeared, what do you think such a person's martial realm should be? Ling Yan asked. At least a heavenly venerate. The little azure dragon replied. What about Miss Yi? Ling Yan asked. Yi Qing Tang. Just an ordinary yin-yang perfected lord. The little azure dragon answered honestly. The moment the little azure dragon spoke, a flash of light ran in his head instantly. It looked at Ling Yan with newfound realization and exclaimed. I understand now. The Divine Virtual Academy students would insist that it's not that they did not protect the Feng clan noble but that the incomer was a heavenly venerate. Since that's the case, how could an ordinary yin-yang perfected lord kill a Feng clan noble, who had the protection of many powerful Divine Virtual Academy disciples? Thus, even if Yi Qingtang's luck was extremely bad and she is found by the Grand Elder of the Feng clan, he would not believe that his grandson was killed by her. Instead, he would feel that someone intentionally disguised into her appearance and wanted to push the blame to Yi Qingtang. Yi Qingtang's true skills happened to be able to confuse the Grand Elder's judgments. Everyone would insist that a heavenly venerate killed Feng Wuya. Thus, in the eyes of the Grand Elder, Yi Qingtang, a yin-yang perfected lord, would definitely not be the murderer. Even if the Grand Elder of the Feng clan saw Yi Qingtang's face previously, he definitely would not believe that she was the one who did it. After all, the martial realms did not match at all. How could a young girl at the yin-yang perfected lord realm kill Feng Wuya, who was protected by the Divine Virtual Academy disciples? Furthermore, the Feng clan had always been suspicious and would naturally overcomplicate Feng Wuya's murder. Fraudulence, disguising of identity. The Feng clan would probably have such speculations. The little azure dragon looked at Ling Yan in shock. This person was truly meticulous in his actions, and there was no flaw to be spoken of. Every step in his scheme was a dead end with no way out for others. Ling Yan, if I guessed correctly, you want the Feng clan to attack the Jiang family, not for yourself. There's completely no need for you to provoke the Jiang family. You must have done so for Yi Qingtang. The little azure dragon looked at Ling Yan meaningfully. The Jiang family and Ling Yan did not have many relations, and Ling Yan did not need to deal with the Jiang family at all. Rather, Yi Yu and Yi Qingtang were mortal enemies, but Yi Yu became the granddaughter of the domain master, Jiang Duantian. As such, if Yi Qingtang headed to the central mainland, she would be in critical danger anytime. The little azure dragon could ascertain that the true reason Ling Yan schemed against the Jiang family and drew such a huge enemy to the Feng clan was to protect Yi Qingtang. Miss Yi, you say? An unnamed coldness emerged in Ling Yan's eyes. I will let anyone who has evil designs on Miss Yi have a taste of extreme misery like that of in hell. TSK. Are you still the Ling Yan I know? After hearing what Ling Yan said, the little azure dragon looked at him with an ambiguous expression. If that's the case, you can get to know me again. The icy expression in his eyes faded away, and he resumed his usual faint smile on his face. There is a common saying here, once one's martial skills reach their peak, they can destroy all evil plots. However, everything is relative. Once demonic intelligence reaches a certain level, it can destroy all gods, surpass all martial chi, and destroy the heavens in one stroke. The little azure dragon looked at Ling Yan and shook its head. At that moment, on a certain mountain ridge, Yi Qingtang studied her surroundings. The mightiest blow by a heavenly venerate had actually dissipated completely. Ling Yan's karma diversion. Yi Qingtang frowned deeply. The heavenly demon bloodline. A cold light glinted in the virtual image's eyes when it sensed the aura emitted by Yi Qingtang. You are a clansman of the domain monarch, Jiang Duantian. After hearing what the old man said, Yi Qingtang did not speak, but appeared thoughtful. Perhaps, Ling Yan had used karma diversion to move the aura of Yi Yu's bloodline to her body. When blended with the aura from the heavenly demon pearl, it had caused the Heavenly Venerate to mistake her for a member of the Jiang clan. Ling Yan, oh Ling Yan, how well you have calculated. She had not thought that Ling Yan would have prepared all this in advance. However, since Ling Yan had already arranged all this, she did not need to waste these plans. Yi Qingtang contemplated inwardly. When he saw that Yi Qingtang did not reply, the old man became even more certain. This girl, who has such a strong aura of the heavenly demon bloodline, must certainly be a member of the Jiang family. Our Feng clan and your Jiang family have always kept clear of each other. Today, you have broken the rules. The virtual image spoke coldly. Further, this girl had earlier withstood the force of his scoff. In terms of martial skills, she was at least at the level of a heavenly venerate. In the entirety of the central mainland, even within the entire first domain, a heavenly venerate with heavenly demon bloodlines could only be found in the Jiang family. Yi Qingtang clearly understood that this virtual image had taken her for a member of the Jiang family. Yi Qingtang naturally did not reveal her status. In order to hide her true status, she did not even draw her sword. She stepped forward and appeared in front of Feng Wuya. In a flash, Yi Qingtang gripped Feng Wuya's neck and lifted him in midair. Grand Father, save me. At that moment, veins bulged in Feng Wuya's forehead. His eyes were bloodshot, and his feet danced in midair as he cried out with difficulty. He was the grandson of the Grand Elder of the Feng clan. Everyone had looked up to him since the day he was born. With his lofty position, he had never experienced this kind of terror. Release my grandson. Could it be that you want to start a war between the Feng family and the Jiang family? The virtual image spoke angrily when he saw Yi Qingtang lift up Feng Wuya. Yi Qingtang swept a cold glance at the ashen Feng Wuya in her grip. She raised her eyes slightly, looked at the virtual image, and scoffed coldly. What a joke! Who does the Feng clan think they are? Could it be that the Feng clan does not know who the first domain belongs to? How dare you! The virtual image raged. Does the Jiang family really think that the first domain belongs to them? How dare you! After I, a heavenly venerate, arrived, your grandson dared to be discourteous to me. If it were anyone else, I would have already killed his entire family. Today, I am only killing your grandson. You should count yourself fortunate. With that, Yi Qingtang did not give the virtual image an opportunity to say anything else. A cold gleam of light suddenly flashed across Yi Qingtang's eyes. Her hand exerted a force and instantly crushed Feng Wuya's neck. Feng Wuya's neck immediately broke with a crack. His head drooped limply, and blood seeped from his eyes, ears, mouth, and nose. He was dead on the spot. Feng Wuya's face was written with shock and terror, up to the moment of his death. He had never dreamt that he would die here. As Feng Wuya's life ebbed away, the trace of aura lingering in his body also dissipated, and the virtual image vanished. At that moment, in the territory of an ancient clan in central mainland, a certain old man's half-shut eyes suddenly opened. A terrifying aura instantly and completely shrouded the territory of the ancient clan. The weather changed as if even the land was shuddering under the rage of the old man. Jiang family. The old man's eyes were filled with murderous intent. His voice was like thunder that tore the dark clouds asunder. Amidst the dragon vein forests, when all the disciples of the Supreme Academy and the Divine Virtual Academy saw the tragic way Feng Wuya died, they were all terrified. Their expressions were filled with disbelief. That was the grandson of the Grand Elder of the ancient Feng clan. He had died, just like that. Finished. The leader of the youths from the Divine Virtual Academy was as pale as a corpse. His body was drenched in cold sweat. It was as if his entire body had been drained of energy. Feng Wuya had followed them into the dragon vein. Now, Feng Wuya had died tragically on this land. How were they supposed to give an account to the ancient Feng clan when they returned? Everyone from the Divine Virtual Academy was both shocked and terrified. No one dared to make a false move. Although the ancient Feng clan was terrifying, the heavenly venerate in front of them was equally frightening. Further, even if the ancient Feng clan wanted to call them to account, it would only be after they returned to Central Mainland. But this heavenly venerate was right before their eyes. If she so wished, she could immediately take their lives. What a pity! Yi Qingtang stared at Feng Wuya, who had died. On Feng Wuya's hand was an exquisite space ring. As the grandson of the Grand Elder of the ancient Feng clan, Feng Wuya's space ring would certainly contain unimaginable treasures. What a pity that as her current status as heavenly venerate, she could not snatch away Feng Wuya's space ring in front of everyone. If she really did that, it would arouse suspicion. With that thought, Yi Qingtang's gaze swept towards the group from the Divine Virtual Academy. Thump! Before Yi Qingtang could react, the young man, who was the leader of the Divine Virtual Academy, suddenly knelt on the ground. His face filled with panic as he said, Senior Heavenly Venerate, this Feng Wuya was guilty of the most heinous crimes. He forced us all, we had no choice. That's right. We have long been unhappy with that beast, Feng Wuya. Senior Heavenly Venerate, that bastard Feng Wuya used his status as the grandson of the Grand Elder of the ancient Feng clan to lord it over us. Not to talk about the young and pretty female disciples of the Supreme Academy, even in our Divine Virtual Academy, he forcefully robbed many of our junior and senior sisters of their innocence. Senior Heavenly Venerate, Feng Wuya's death is not worth mourning over. Senior, you have gotten rid of an evil person. This killing is good, truly good. At that moment, everyone from the Divine Virtual Academy was absolutely terrified. This person had killed Feng Wuya without batting an eye. If she wanted to kill them, would it not be like crushing an ant? At that moment, they could only plead for her to allow them to live. Naturally, each of them mustered all their energy to show contempt of Feng Wuya, desperate to sever all connections with him. Get lost. Yi Qingtang flicked her sleeves. She had no interest in talking nonsense with them. When they heard Yi Qingtang's words, everyone from the Divine Virtual Academy nodded vigorously. They immediately fled after receiving amnesty. They were all deeply afraid that Yi Qingtang would change her mind. They fled the place as fast as they could. Their only regret was that their parents had not given them a few more legs at birth. Senior Sister Yi, as they looked at the fleeing figures of the people from the Divine Virtual Academy, Li Xiu, Feng Wudong, and Gu Tianhe walked towards Yi Qingtang. Senior Sister Yi needs to be more careful. After all, Feng Wuya is the grandson of the Grand Elder of the ancient Feng clan. Now that Senior Sister Yi has executed him, the ancient Feng clan will not let take this lying down. When he heard what Gu Tianhe said, Li Xiu said, Senior Sister Yi is a heavenly venerate. Since she dared to kill Feng Wuya, she is not afraid of the ancient Feng clan. There is no need for you to worry unnecessarily. Gu Tianhe nodded when he heard that. Only then did he truly realize that this Senior Sister Yi was a heavenly venerate. There was nothing to worry about even if she took the life of an ordinary virtual arcane supremacy. Yi Qingtang said to Feng Wudong, Gu Tianhe, and the others, I still have other matters to attend to. All of you have to be careful in the dragon vein. Don't worry, Senior Sister Yi, said Li Xiu. Is Senior Sister Yi going to the inheritance of the Divine Phoenix? Gu Tianhe asked curiously as he looked at Yi Qingtang. That's right. Yi Qingtang nodded in agreement without denying it. Gu Tianhe, Feng Wudong, and the others had previously followed the guidance of the wintry yang aura and passed by the inheritance of the Divine Phoenix. However, for some reason, the wintry yang aura seemed to repel them. Very few powerful people could be led within by the wintry yang aura. When she heard this news from Gu Tianhe and the others, Yi Qingtang remained composed and showed no signs of surprise. It was natural for high-level inheritances of this nature to be like that. It was not that the person chose the inheritance, but that the inheritance chose the person. Not just anyone could enter the eye of the inheritance. It was naturally like the heavenly demon pearl, which was an inheritance from the heavenly demon. Yi Qingtang had originally wanted to obtain the inheritance from the heavenly demon, but Yi Yu had obtained it first and Yi Qingtang had taken it later. The meaning was completely different. Under the reverent gaze of the group from the Supreme Academy, Yi Qingtang slowly moved farther and farther away until she vanished from their sight. With the guidance of the wintry yang aura, after half a day, Yi Qingtang traversed the mountain range and arrived at an idyllic valley. Yi Qingtang saw over 10 men and women, both young and old, gathered at a stream. The aura of the divine arcane supremacy appeared among them. Every one of these 10+ people had a formidable presence. They could not be compared with an ordinary arcane supremacy. Yin Yang child, Yi Qingtang gaze swept over the group of people. At a glance, she saw that Yin Yang child and the others were also among them. Yi Qingtang immediately shook her head secretly. Why had Yin Yang child come to the inheritance of the divine phoenix instead of going to the inheritance of the true dragon? Then, she saw another girl arrive. Everyone's gaze moved over to study her and then moved aside after a while. Ah, this inheritance of the divine phoenix is so lively. But not just anyone can come here and be acknowledged by the divine phoenix. An elegant-looking girl dressed in green with a sword girded about her waist glanced at Yi Qingtang, then turned up her nose, and sneered. 100 meters away from the spring laid a route that everyone had to pass through. It was covered by a pale red screen. To contest for the inheritance of the divine phoenix, one must first obtain the recognition from the divine phoenix. Otherwise, one would not even have the qualifications to contest for the inheritance, much less obtain it. A moment later, Yi Qingtang calmly walked towards the pale red screen with great strides. In just an instant, Yi Qingtang passed through the screen. Many were surprised by what they saw. This lady actually obtained the divine phoenix's recognition so easily. Amongst them, there were people who even tried over 10 times before barely passing through the screen. It's you? After Yi Qingtang entered the screen, Yin Yang child recognized her at first sight. Yin Yang child immediately stood up and glared at Yi Qingtang furiously. Although Yin Yang child's skills were powerful, he was rather young, only about 13 or 14, and thus he was half of Yi Qingtang's height when he stood before Yi Qingtang. What happened, little fellow? Yi Qingtang looked at Yin Yang child and chuckled with smiles in her eyes. What, did you say? Little fellow? Who are you calling little fellow? After hearing Yi Qingtang's address, Yin Yang child was instantly taken aback. A long while later, his eyes twinkled with threat, and an intent to kill Yi Qingtang arose. Where exactly is my father's 9 sons seized souls book? How dare you all trick me, and lead me to where black and white holy sun was? Yin Yang child shouted sternly as he glared at Yi Qingtang. Just because of what Ling Yan said, he actually crossed paths with black and white holy sun when he was heading to find the 9 sons seized souls book. Yin Yang child and black and white holy sun were foes, and both of them could be said to be like fire and water. Every time they met, they would be caught up in a long and intense fight. Yet, Yin Yang child's skills were worse than black and white holy sun's. When both of them met a while ago, Yin Yang child was almost killed by black and white holy sun. Seeing Yi Qingtang right now, Yin Yang child was obviously searing with fury. Yi Qingtang indiscreetly glanced across the people in the screen, where she happened to see another figure. That person was none other than Yin Yang child's enemy, black and white holy sun. The two who were originally fire and water, however, remained within this screen safely. Even after seeing how exasperated Yin Yang child was, black and white holy sun remained at his spot far away, as though he did not have any intention to fight with Yin Yang child at all. A thought suddenly emerged in Yi Qingtang's mind. Her eyes swept across the other people within the screen, and she understood the situation. Subsequently, Yi Qingtang spoke plainly. I am not your father. You should ask your father if you want the 9 Sons Seized Souls book. It was as though she was utterly ignorant of the murderous intent in Yin Yang Child's eyes. It seems you have a death wish. Yin Yang Child was infuriated immediately. He condensed all his strength in his left palm and aimed towards Yi Qingtang's glabella. The power of this hit was extremely frightening, and even the sturdiest metals would be crushed into pieces by Yin Yang Child's attack. However, Yi Qingtang did not dodge or avoid Yin Yang Child's attack, and an unknowing scoff played on her lips. In a flash, Yin Yang Child's palm landed violently, and a piercing sound lingered in the air. However, just as Yin Yang Child's palm was less than 3 inches away from Yi Qingtang, a scarlet gleam suddenly appeared from midair and pushed Yin Yang Child to the ground. How hateful! Yin Yang Child stood up in helpless rage. This is the Divine Phoenix's land of inheritance. How can you behave so impudently here? Yi Qingtang cast Yin Yang Child a look and said coldly. Indeed, her speculation was right. She found it strange since just now. Given the conflict between Yin Yang Child and Black and White Holy Sun, how could they remain at the same place in peace? Perhaps, it was not that they suddenly decided to bury the hatchet but that they were simply forbidden from attacking each other within this screen in the land of inheritance. Coming to think of it, the supreme grade inheritance here had great spiritual wisdom, and trialists favored upon by the inheritance were completely forbidden from attacking each other. Otherwise, if someone's skills overrode the others and he killed everyone else, wouldn't the inheritance belong to him without a doubt? As such, once any trialist attacks another trialist in such a land of inheritance, the inheritance would step in to prevent such an incident from happening. No matter how powerful one was, he was still unable to unleash his skills to harm others once in this land of inheritance. Otherwise, not mentioning the conflict between Yin Yang Child and Black and White Holy Sun, the other people within the screen would probably already have fought each other with their lives to contend for the inheritance. How would there still be so many people standing around foolishly? Yi Qingtang sensed the abnormality from the start and vaguely guessed the rules in this land of inheritance. As such, even if she saw that Yin Yang Child wanted to kill her, she was never anxious. Anyway, they had already entered the land of inheritance, and all Yin Yang Child could do was to glare at her no matter how annoyed he was. Ha ha ha, Yin Yang Child, you still have the temperament of a child. She agitated you on purpose, and you still foolishly attacked her. A teenager in black armor mocked when he saw Yin Yang Child being thrown onto the ground forcefully by the power of the Divine Phoenix. Black and White Holy Sun, I didn't think that you would actually treat this kind of person as your opponent. Isn't it too boring? Without giving Yin Yang Child a chance to speak, the teenager in black armor commented again with a smile as he looked at a good-looking man, whose hair reached his waist. Upon hearing that, the good-looking man, who was referred to as Black and White Holy Sun, shot a distant look at the teenager. You talk too much. Do I? The teenager sneered. He was about to continue saying something, but a solemn voice rang in the air. Any trialist who attacks others again will be expelled from here. Everyone could not help but be taken aback when they heard it. The inheritance of the Divine Phoenix finally appeared. The Divine Phoenix's voice appeared only for one moment and disappeared without a trace. That's strange. Didn't the Divine Phoenix already die in the battle? Why did the Divine Phoenix's voice appear here? Right. Could it be that the Divine Phoenix did not even die and was searching for an inheritor here instead? Everyone was curious about the appearance of the Divine Phoenix's voice, and there were many discussions about it. The Divine Phoenix did pass on. However, such supreme beings can still keep a tiny trace of its spirit alive even if it had died for millions of years. This remaining spirit is the protector and ruler of the Divine Phoenix's land of inheritance. One must obtain its permission in order to obtain the inheritance of the Divine Phoenix. Anyone who snatches by force will face a tragic ending regardless if the person was a holy venerate or holy venerate. An emotionless voice rang at that moment. Upon hearing it, everyone looked in the direction of the source of the voice. A man was sitting cross-legged by a stream. His long, purple hair reached his waist while his eyes remained shut. Absolute monarch of heaven. After they recognized the man, the person's face changed slightly. Absolute monarch of heaven was one of the extraordinary talents of the younger generation in central mainland. He possessed outstanding talents and was ranked near the top of the honor roll list. Yi Qingtang's eyes followed everyone's line of sight and slowly landed on the absolute monarch of heaven. When she saw the face of the man, Yi Qingtang was stunned. The purple-haired man before her was so familiar. In Yi Qingtang's previous life, she became sworn siblings with 6 brothers, one of whom was the absolute monarch of heaven before her. Yi Qingtang never thought that she would meet the absolute monarch of heaven at this place. As she looked at him sitting cross-legged by the stream and his long, purple hair dancing in the wind bewitchingly, reminiscence filled her. Memories of the time spent with the 6 sworn brothers flooded her mind. Those were the few memories from her past life that were worth looking back on. Although many scenes filled her mind, Yi Qingtang quickly looked away at this instant. In this life, she did not have any relations with the absolute monarch of heaven yet, and he was not her sworn brother. It was thus better to not look at him for too long, or else it would arouse the suspicion of the absolute monarch of heaven. I was wondering who it was. So it is the absolute monarch of heaven. However, absolute monarch of heaven, how do you know so much? The man in black armor looked at absolute monarch of heaven and asked with a smile. However, absolute monarch of heaven no longer gave any response. The man in black armor did not gain any reply, and he did not say anything more either. When is the trial starting? At this instant, many powerful figures exchanged a look. The divine phoenix spoke just now, but it was only one sentence, and it did not make any sound again after that. Currently, no one could give any answers, and the only thing they could do was to wait. As for when they had to wait until, no one was clear. After all, the divine phoenix did not give any more hints. Yi Qingtang was not anxious. Seeing that the trial for the inheritance of the divine phoenix had not opened, she was not as restless as the others. Instead, she found a quiet place to sit and consolidate her martial cultivation. No one could conjecture the divine phoenix's meaning. Since that was the case, all she needed to do was to wait patiently and not waste energy. Presently, Yi Qingtang's martial cultivation had already entered the Yin-Yang perfected Lord Third Heaven and was steadily advancing towards Yin-Yang perfected Lord Fourth Heaven. In no time, she could make a breakthrough to the Fourth Heaven. Time ticked away. The bright sky turned dark and back bright again. This cycle continued for about half a month. As time passed, every minute became unknowing torture to the people within the screen. For the entire half a month, the divine phoenix never appeared. The patience of the people awaiting the inheritance of the divine phoenix eroded away bit by bit. No one knew exactly when the trial for the inheritance of the divine phoenix would begin. Remaining within the screen, it was as though they were waiting for a destiny so far in the indefinite future. They did not have any clue about it and did not know its deadline. In this half a month, some cultivators ran out of patience and left the land of inheritance halfway. However, when they returned and tried to step into the screen again, they were isolated outside and could no longer enter the screen at all. Everyone understood the current situation. Once any one of them left the land of inheritance, it would be impossible for them to enter it again. Yet, even if they remained in the land of inheritance, the inheritance of the divine phoenix did not appear. Chapter 9:17 The Divine Phoenix's Trial. 2. The passing of time gradually became a form of torture. One would not have the opportunity to obtain the inheritance of the divine phoenix should he leave, but if he remained, no one knew when would the wait end. The wait was so long it seemed forever, until a month later, several cultivators lamented and left. All of their patience had been eroded by this indefinite wait. With the continuous departures, only 2/3 of the trialists remained in the land of inheritance. Apart from the endless wait, procuring food was a significant issue as well. Although it was said that one's need for food would reduce as the cultivation realm increased, they still needed to consume something. While everyone had a space ring, which powerful figure would store large quantities of food in their space ring? The little amount of food that they brought was quickly depleted. Fortunately, there were wild fruits nearby that could replenish their energy. Otherwise, no one could persevere this long. 2 months later, the divine phoenix's voice appeared once again. To the masses within the screen, its voice could be claimed to be heavenly. "Congratulations, you all have passed the first round of the trial," said a scarlet virtual image that appeared in the sky. After hearing the divine phoenix's voice again, everyone was delighted but also dumbfounded when they heard what the divine phoenix said. "Congratulations, they have passed the first round of the trial." What did that mean? Very quickly, the people understood the meaning behind the divine phoenix's words. Ever since they entered the land of inheritance, the trial of the divine phoenix had already begun. It was, however, that no one knew about it. The endless, indefinite wait was the first trial that the divine phoenix gave them. Those cultivators who had already left were equivalent to those who had not passed the first round of the trial. Yi Qingtang opened her eyes slowly. 2 months was not torture to her. Everyone has been here for about 2 months and must be extremely exhausted already. Please come with me. After saying that, its scarlet figure floated ahead immediately. Noticing the situation, everyone, including Yi Qingtang, followed after the divine phoenix without hesitation. About an hour later, everyone followed the divine phoenix and reached a small bamboo forest. As soon as they entered the small bamboo forest, the aroma of food entered their noses. Just the aroma was enough to cause one to salivate. Moreover, these were people who had been eating wild fruits for 2 months. When everyone looked up, they noticed a huge long table not far away from them. That long table could seat hundreds of people. All sorts of rare and exotic delicacies from around the world were displayed on the table. After leading the group here, the divine phoenix said gently, "You all have only been relying on wild fruits to fill your stomach over the past 2 months. All of you must be very tired and famished right now. Please take a seat." After hearing the divine phoenix's orders, everyone immediately dispersed and took a seat. "Please," the divine phoenix said. Everyone had been eating wild fruits for 2 months and did not have much of an appetite with the divine phoenix present. They did not dare to overly display their desire for food. However, since the divine phoenix had already spoken, some cultivators expressed their thanks and immediately wolfed down the food, as though they wanted to make up for the fine delicacies they did not eat in the past 2 months at one go. However, as those cultivators were eating heartily, some others frowned and did not take any action. Seated at the side of the long table, Yi Qingtang looked at the delicacies plainly without any intention to consume them. "Why are you all not eating?" Sensing the behavior of those people, the divine phoenix's eyes landed on Yi Qingtang, and it asked in confusion. Yi Qingtang slowly stood up and replied with cupped fists. "I just think it is a little strange, thus, I did not start eating." Strange, the divine phoenix was taken aback. "So you're saying that these delicacies are poisoned?" Upon hearing that, the cultivators who were wolfing down the food stopped eating immediately and looked at the divine phoenix in shock. This divine phoenix could not have really poisoned the delicacies, could it? "It's not that I think you poisoned us." Yi Qingtang shook her head and said slowly. "I just feel that it's a little odd only." "Tell me what is odd," the divine phoenix said calmly. "How could there be food in this mystic realm? Let's talk about this wine first. It requires specialized brewing, and there are no ingredients in the valley that could make it, let alone the technical process of making the wine." Yi Qingtang explained slowly and continued. "Even if the ingredients are available, I believe that you may not know how to make wine. Even if you do know, you may not have the tools. Next, these delicacies have a delightful appearance and smell. However, you do not have a physical body. How can you make these items? Moreover, the Divine Phoenix clan is adept at illusions. Hence, I feel that all of this is probably an illusion which you created, Lord Divine Phoenix. Yi Qingtang looked up slightly at the Divine Phoenix with clear eyes. Illusion? After hearing Yi Qingtang's explanation, the cultivators who were eating their hearts out found it rather unbelievable. If this was an illusion, it was a little too real. The taste of the wine and delicacies still lingered in their tongues. Moreover, there were so many of them present, and the Divine Phoenix did not have any chance to execute an illusion on them. Naturally, it was a different affair if the Divine Phoenix was incredibly powerful. You think that this is an illusion? The Divine Phoenix looked at Yi Qingtang. It's only my guess. I cannot be sure. Yi Qingtang replied. What about you? The Divine Phoenix looked at Yin Yang Child. Me? I'm afraid you would poison me. Yin Yang Child replied straightly. You? Very quickly, the Divine Phoenix looked at Black and White Holy Sun. My body constitution is special. I don't need to eat or drink. Black and White Holy Sun replied with a slight shrug. What about you then? The Divine Phoenix looked at the Absolute Monarch of Heaven a while later. I'm not hungry, replied the Absolute Monarch of Heaven. The majority of the people at the scene thought that it was a little strange. Due to their habitual cautiousness, they did not begin eating. What about you? Why did you eat? A moment later, the Divine Phoenix looked at the cultivators who consumed the food. Why? The cultivator who was pointed out by the Divine Phoenix was slightly dumbfounded. Didn't you ask us to eat, you? The Divine Phoenix looked at another person. I'm hungry. That cultivator replied. Emichim. I understand now. The Divine Phoenix nodded after gaining the answers. As the Divine Phoenix finished its sentence, the small bamboo forest shattered like glass pieces. Everyone's expressions changed drastically when they returned to their senses. Currently, they were still beside the stream of the mountain valley. Where were the delicacies from before? Everyone looked around their surroundings. The stream before their eyes was more than familiar. From the very start till the end, all of them had never left this place at all. Illusion. Several cultivators who were proficient in illusion techniques were completely shaken. They were extremely accomplished in the field of illusions and definitely could sense it if an illusion technique was cast on them. However, the illusion cast by this Divine Phoenix was simply flawless and was no different from reality. It was as though they entered the illusory space from reality in a second without any signs of it. Who could have sensed that such a sophisticated move was an illusion? How can this be? The cultivators who consumed the delicacies a while ago were dumbstruck. After feasting, they clearly felt the wine passing down their throats and the delicacies filling their stomachs. How could this be an illusion? This was too frighteningly real. The Divine Phoenix had passed away with the true dragon many years ago. Currently, this scarlet virtual image was merely the last trace of the spirit of the Divine Phoenix. Could it be that the last remaining spirit of the Divine Phoenix was so powerful? How terrifying was this power? If the Divine Phoenix wanted to use the illusion technique to massacre them, it could do that in an instant. If the Divine Phoenix wanted to do harm, everyone at the scene would already have died. It's a pity that you all are not cautious enough. I told you all to eat, and so did you all. If I told you all to die, would you all listen obediently as well? The Divine Phoenix sighed as it looked at those cultivators who ate heartily and were currently at a loss right now. A few cultivators were a little baffled. Of course, there was no problem in following the orders if they were told to dig in and feast, but it was definitely impossible if they were told to die, without giving the cultivators a chance to speak, the divine phoenix shook its head rather disappointingly. You all are not cautious enough, and the inheritance of the divine phoenix must not land in the hands of careless and impatient people. After it spoke, the cultivators' bodies exploded instantly and turned into chopped pieces. Many cultivators were left agape by what they saw. Even if they did not pass the divine phoenix's assessment, it did not get to the point where it had to kill those people, did it? Who knew if they could pass the assessment? If they were unable to, wouldn't they die as well? At this moment, everyone could not help but begin to feel that the cultivators who left out of impatience at the very first round of trials were extremely lucky. Although those people did not pass the first round, they did not have to worry about their lives. Currently, the inheritance of the divine phoenix has already begun. From the second round onward, victors can obtain the inheritance of the divine phoenix while failures only have the fate of death. Anyone who is afraid can withdraw. The divine phoenix announced coldly. I withdraw. A lady took a step forward immediately and said after a moment of hesitation. Only one person could obtain the inheritance of the divine phoenix. In that case, out of the remaining 30+ people, only one person could live. Who was willing to gamble with their lives? May I ask how many people will eventually obtain the inheritance of the divine phoenix? A young man asked with a frown. Only one. The scarlet figure replied. If that's the case, I will withdraw as well. The young man lamented and shook his head. Forget it, it seems that the inheritance of the divine phoenix and I have no fate. I will withdraw too. I will withdraw as well. Only one person can live. It's almost a definite death for us. In just a short while, 8 cultivators withdrew from the trial. They did not have full confidence to obtain the inheritance of the divine phoenix. If they failed, the only option they had was death. Risking their lives for a destiny was too horrifying. No one had the courage to face such a gamble with only a slight chance of survival. You all don't even have such little amount of courage. How can you all have the qualifications to obtain the inheritance of the divine phoenix? The scarlet figure looked in disappointment at the 8 people who withdrew. Courage? Is courage more important than our lives? One of the people who withdrew answered with a frown. However, the moment that person finished speaking, the scene before everyone's eyes shattered once again. Everyone was awakened. The cultivators who were previously crushed by the divine phoenix were standing at their original location, well and alive. It was as though the gruesome scene from before never appeared. Even the smell of blood that lingered in the air had disappeared without a trace in an instant. It's an illusion again, Yi Qingtang mumbled to herself, everything that happened just now was probably another trial by divine phoenix. The divine phoenix intentionally let everyone watch the scene of the cultivators being crushed as a test of their courage and determination. The trials that the divine phoenix set were closely linked, and the illusions were extremely realistic. Even an illusion master was probably unable to distinguish illusion from reality. No one would suspect anything when encountering such a high-level illusion. Even Yi Qingtang thought that those cultivators were killed by the divine phoenix. Never had she thought that this was actually still an illusion cast by the divine phoenix. This is all thanks to Ling Yan, Yi Qingtang mumbled. If Ling Yan did not clearly tell her that she would definitely be able to obtain the inheritance of the divine phoenix, she probably would have thought of withdrawing as well. This was not because Yi Qingtang was not courageous or determined enough. In this rebirth, she still had many unfinished things. If she died at this moment, what difference was there from her previous life? Having to meet death just because of the inheritance of the divine phoenix, Yi Qingtang naturally had to weigh her options carefully. Moreover, the dimension wall of this mainland had already shattered. In no time, that mysterious ancient clan would arrive to collect that extraordinary lattice spiritual abode and destroy this entire mainland. The reason she required the inheritance of the divine phoenix and for coming to the dragon vein was all to become more powerful and eventually fight against those outsiders. Before that, she must not gamble with her life. Once she lost the gamble, not only would she die, but everyone in Xianling sect, Yi family, her father, and friends would all die as well. She could not take this gamble. This time, her life did not belong to herself. If she died, she would not be able to save many others. You all lack awareness, courage, and determination. The inheritance of the divine phoenix must not be given to you all. The divine phoenix looked disappointedly at the 8 cultivators who initiated to withdraw and those who were not cautious and shook its head. As the divine phoenix finished speaking, 10+ people were sent out of the land of inheritance and disappeared. The assessment will continue. The divine phoenix spoke. May I ask, what assessment it is? Yin Yang child asked curiously. Upon hearing that, the young man in black armor convulsed with laughter. Are you a fool? If the divine phoenix really told you, wouldn't you be prepared for it? Are you foolish or did you treat Lord Divine Phoenix as a fool? What business is it of yours? Yin Yang child said coldly as he looked at the youth in black armor. The youth in black armor was stunned. He was just about to speak when at the same moment, the divine phoenix said, no matter. I'll tell you. The next test is lust. Lust? When they heard the divine phoenix's words, everyone exchanged glances. What did that mean? To be precise, it is temptation. Your temptation will be actively produced by what you have seen and heard, the divine phoenix said. Realization dawned after they heard the divine phoenix's words. Divine Phoenix, we will certainly be prepared now that you have revealed it. No matter how tempted we feel, we cannot possibly be moved. So, what is the purpose of the next stage's test? A middle-aged man was puzzled. The divine phoenix had not given them any hints in the previous stages. Why was it suddenly being so agreeable now? They were not stupid. Since they knew it was a test and that the situation was obviously created by the divine phoenix, they would not fall into the trap. The divine phoenix only calmly shook its head in response to the middle-aged man's doubts. This time, I will strip you of your ability to think rationally. You will not think that it is a test. I want to observe your instincts. Strip them of their ability to think rationally. What did that mean? Could it be that, the divine phoenix was so powerful it could control their thinking? Everyone was shocked, but they had no time for further consideration. As the divine phoenix spoke, complete silence fell on the valley. As they entered a trance, a dense fog descended. Yin Yang child stood in the black fog. A delicate fragrance seemed to linger in his surroundings. Beside him stood a girl of stunning beauty. Her clothes were in disarray, and her eyes exuded tenderness. Yin Yang child looked rather puzzled. He did not know where he was or what he was doing. His mind was blank and completely devoid of former memories. He looked at this girl of stunning beauty. He did not know where she had popped out from. Come, a voice that was so soft it sank into his bones, slowly rang out. The stunningly beautiful girl narrowed her lovely eyes slightly and waved at Yin Yang child with her right hand. Her hand was so soft, it was almost boneless. This careless action seemed to contain all kinds of flirtatious expressions. Her fluid glances seemed to encompass all that was beautiful in this world. Yin Yang child looked at the girl of unparalleled beauty before him. He was not moved at all. Instead, he frowned and shouted coldly, "Whose maid is this? Get lost, don't hold up my cultivation." Yin Yang child did not know where he was or why he was here. Only the path of pursuing power he had always pursued remained buried deep in his heart. So what if he was faced with beauty? Yin Yang child was only 13 or 14. What did he know of love between a man and a woman? He was intent only on hastening his cultivation and upgrading himself as fast as possible so that he could press his sworn enemy, black and white holy sun, to the ground and pound him with a hammer. At the same time, not just Yin Yang child, but black and white holy sun, the youth in black armor, absolute monarch of heaven, and the 20 over men and women present, including Yi Qingtang, were all in the same situation. They had all sunken into the same state. They had forgotten the inheritance of the divine phoenix, forgotten the dragon vein, forgotten everything. The dense fog dissipated a little. A faint light shone. Yi Qingtang looked around. Before her was the interior of a dimly lit room. This was, before Yi Qingtang could think clearly, she suddenly sensed a trace of a strange aura coming from behind her. Chapter 922 Faced with Beauty, 3, Yi Qingtang instinctively turned around. She was taken aback by what she saw. A handsome man with an icy expression and absolutely emotionless eyes was standing quietly within her line of sight. At a glance, Yi Qingtang recognized this man with a frosty cold demeanor. "Since you have nothing with which to repay me, you should marry me." Han Sangming slowly extended his hand to Yi Qingtang. He spoke coldly as his icy cold gaze fell on Yi Qingtang. "Lord of the Antiquity Palace." Han Sangming. Yi Qingtang's whole body shuddered when she saw this ferocious and cold man. How did she run into this fellow? Yi Qingtang's scalp prickled when she heard Han Kangming's familiar, "Marry me." Yi Qingtang almost instinctively turned to flee. She was terrified that Han Sangming would see the heart of the demon god within her. Just as Yi Qingtang turned to leave swiftly, a voice suddenly rang out from behind her. "Miss Yi." Yi Qingtang paused, her foot just touching the threshold. The voice behind her was completely different from the previous icy one. Instead, it seemed to contain infinite tenderness. In a daze, Yi Qingtang turned slightly and looked behind her. This glance stunned Yi Qingtang. Han Sangming, who had been standing behind her, had vanished. Instead, a man who was so handsome he looked like he had walked out of painting was standing there instead. He stood there quietly, and his extraordinarily clever eyes looked at her smilingly. Ling Yan. Yi Qingtang stopped when she saw Ling Yan. Her expression showed a faint trace of bewilderment. "Yes, it's me." Ling Yan nodded. "What about Han Sangming?" Yi Qingtang asked in surprise. She clearly remembered seeing the Lord of the Antiquities Palace. "Don't know." Ling Yan shook his head laughingly. He immediately extended his hand to Yi Qingtang and said, "Come." Yi Qingtang was rather puzzled, but she walked towards Ling Yan without thinking much about it. After all, she and Ling Yan were friends. "Where is this place? Why am I here?" "You, and why are you here?" Yi Qingtang's expression grew increasingly puzzled. She momentarily could not recall what had happened. Her mind seemed rather fuzzy. It was as if she was wanted to think of something, but she could not recall anything. "Here." Ling Yan looked around him. "Of course, this is a place for newlyweds." "Newlyweds?" Yi Qingtang was stunned. She studied her surroundings again and suddenly realized that the arrangements in the room had changed drastically. The originally dim room was now brightly lit with red candles. The interior was hung with bright red silks, turning the entire room into a sea of bright red. "You're married? Who did you marry?" "Congratulations," Yi Qingtang suddenly snapped out of her trance. She felt that something was amiss, but when she tried to pursue the thought, a voice in her mind seemed to tell her that this was the way things should be. Yi Qingtang immediately opened her space ring. Since it was Ling Yan's wedding day, of course, she had to congratulate him. She had originally thought of finding something in the space ring as a wedding present, but now, she realized that there was nothing in her space ring. "I'm sorry, I came here in a hurry and didn't bring a wedding present." Yi Qingtang lifted her eyes with an apologetic look. "You did bring one." The corners of Ling Yan's mouth turned up slightly. His half-smiling eyes slowly passed over Yi Qingtang's entire body. Chapter 923 Faced with Beauty, 4, Then, he approached slowly and gently grasped Yi Qingtang's small hand. Without waiting for Yi Qingtang to respond, Ling Yan tugged at Yi Qingtang and pulled her into his embrace. You are the biggest wedding present. Yi Qingtang was shocked. What was going on? Was Ling Yan manipulating her? Miss Yi, could you have forgotten? Ling Yan said as he gently held Yi Qingtang in his embrace. I've said it before. Since you have nothing to repay me with, you should marry me. Ling Yan laughed softly, not giving Yi Qingtang a chance to speak. Of course, Yi Qingtang understood what those words meant. It was just that Yi Qingtang had thought that Ling Yan was manipulating her, so she had acted dumb and did not give Ling Yan a chance to manipulate her. Right now, Yi Qingtang could not recall why and when Ling Yan had first said these words. That's enough. Yi Qingtang pushed Ling Yan aside almost instinctively. What was that Ling Yan plotting now? However, Yi Qingtang's push sent Ling Yan flying. Ling Yan knocked against something and fell to the ground, fainting. Yi Qingtang wiped her forehead. She had pushed him instinctively, forgetting that Ling Yan's martial cultivation was, truly, with her current ability, how could he withstand that kind of damage from her? Ling Yan, are you alright? Yi Qingtang could not help but feel somewhat worried when she saw the unresponsive Ling Yan lying on the ground. If she had really hurt this fellow, then she was really, Ling Yan was the one who had brought about her rebirth. Ling Yan had also helped her many times in the past. Yi Qingtang asked herself whether she was someone who repaid good for evil. She immediately hurried forward and helped Ling Yan up. Just as Yi Qingtang helped Ling Yan up, Ling Yan's closed eyes suddenly opened. It was as if his narrow eyes were filled with stars. He gazed unblinkingly at Yi Qingtang, who was just inches away. Yi Qingtang could not help but be taken aback by this pair of eyes that stared at her unwaveringly. But before Yi Qingtang could return to her senses, Ling Yan suddenly raised his head and pressed against Yi Qingtang. Ling Yan's speed was shocking. Yi Qingtang was completely unable to react. Under Yi Qingtang's surprised gaze, Ling Yan's smiling lips peremptorily kissed Yi Qingtang. He gained the initiative and pulled Yi Qingtang into his embrace with one arm. This outrageous invasion was akin to a king occupying a territory. When she felt the warmth of his lips, Yi Qingtang suddenly came to her senses and pushed Ling Yan aside. You dare manipulate me? Yi Qingtang glared at Ling Yan angrily. Ling Yan only looked at Yi Qingtang with a half-smile. It was as if some warmth lingered at the corners of Yi Qingtang's lips. As she looked at the half-smiling Ling Yan, Yi Qingtang took a deep breath and said, If I don't kill you today, my name is not Yi Qingtang. Yi Qingtang immediately drew her regicide sky blade and slashed at Ling Yan. When he saw Yi Qingtang coming at him with her knife, Ling Yan only shook his head. Do you want to murder your dear husband on your wedding night? Dear your head. Yi Qingtang glared at Ling Yan. Damn his wedding night. To hell with murdering her dear husband. If my wife wishes to kiss my head, then as a husband, I have no choice but to obey. Ling Yan laughed softly, and his eyes filled with a doting expression. Chapter 924 Faced with Beauty, 5, You're toying with me. If I don't mince you up today, my name is not Yi Qingtang. Yi Qingtang slashed out with her sword, but Ling Yan's figure floated backward. Of course your name is not Yi Qingtang. After you marry me, you will take my surname, of course, I can also take your surname. Ling Yan laughed. Yi Qingtang was rendered speechless. Before she could make her next move, the void exploded. Large amounts of dense fog rolled in, obscuring Yi Qingtang's vision. With that, Ling Yan's figure also vanished slowly. When Yi Qingtang came back to her senses, she was standing next to a stream in a valley. This, Yi Qingtang's expression was one of shock. The stream in front of her was so familiar. What had just happened? Yi Qingtang vaguely felt that she had just experienced something, but she drew a blank after careful thought. All she could remember was the divine phoenix telling them that the next stage was lust. Her memory was frozen at the moment when the divine phoenix had last spoken. Yi Qingtang had no memory of what had happened after that. Yi Qingtang immediately studied her surroundings. All the powerful people present were in a daze. They stood motionless at their original spots as if they had been asleep. Only Yin Yang Child was frowning and looking around him, and he seemed to be more normal. You are the second trialist to have resisted temptation, a scarlet image in the void said to Yi Qingtang. Resisted temptation? Yi Qingtang frowned slightly. She had no recount of what had just happened. With that, Yi Qingtang thought of something. Second. Then the first is, Yi Qingtang instinctively looked at Yin Yang Child. Do you need to ask? Of course, it's me. Yin Yang Child laughed coldly. The corners of Yi Qingtang's lips twitched a little. Yin Yang Child was at most 13 or 14, what use was the so-called temptation by beauty to him? Yi Qingtang could not understand what Yin Yang Child had to be proud of. If he was not the first to emerge, that would be truly preposterous. However, Yi Qingtang sank into deep thought. She was the second person to resist temptation. This meant the so-called temptation by beauty was either by gorgeous women or handsome men. Yi Qingtang did not know what degree of temptation the divine phoenix had used at this stage. She did not have any memories. To Yi Qingtang, being faced with beauty was no great difficulty. With her many experiences in her past life, she had already learned to look beyond beauty that was skin deep. She had never been worried about this test. Your luck is pretty good. While Yi Qingtang was thinking, the divine phoenix spoke suddenly. My luck is pretty good. Yi Qingtang was taken back. What does Lord Divine Phoenix mean? You almost succumbed, the divine phoenix said. Yi Qingtang widened her eyes in disbelief. She had almost succumbed. Impossible. What kind of handsome man could cause her to almost succumb? Yi Qingtang had been pretty confident of her self-control, but the divine phoenix's words caused doubt to arise in her heart. Was there someone on earth who could use his good looks to sway her? In that case, Lord Divine Phoenix, who was it who almost caused me to succumb? Yi Qingtang's expression was one of curiosity. She really wanted to know what kind of handsome man had caused her heart to waver. How would I know who he is? The Divine Phoenix said blandly. Yi Qingtang's expression was rather strange. If what the divine phoenix said was true and it was all an enchantment, then the scenes and people that appeared must be derived from the thoughts of the trial takers. But the divine phoenix's enchantment skills were too profound, and Yi Qingtang found it difficult to judge the situation. In addition, she did not remember the events that she saw and experienced in the enchantment. Now, she could only guess a part of it. Time slipped past as Yi Qingtang pondered deeply. After a moment, many of the men and women slowly awoke. Their expressions were dazed, and they looked about them in confusion. Based on their appearance, it was obvious that they could not recall what had happened. After about an hour, more than half the people had woken up, including Yi Qingtang and Yin Yang Child. The other half of the trial takers were absorbed in the divine phoenix's enchantment and were unable to extricate themselves. Based on the faint flickering expressions of those who were absorbed, she knew that they were enraptured and unable to extricate themselves. Everyone, congratulations on passing the trial at this stage. The divine phoenix spoke slowly after some time had passed. The divine phoenix's words caused everyone present to exchange glances. They had passed the third stage's trial of beauty. But they could not remember anything. They were completely ignorant of the circumstances of the trial or how they had passed it. Many of them were rather curious about the process of the test, but no matter how hard they searched their minds, they could not remember a single thing. No matter how curious they were, they remained unsatisfied. Naturally, if the divine phoenix did not bring it up, they would not ask about it either. Apart from you, the remaining trial takers were not resolute enough. They have sunk into the temptation of beauty and are unable to extricate themselves. They have already been eliminated. As the divine phoenix spoke, the bodies of the 10+ men and women who had not woken up slowly became transparent. In the span of a few breaths, they were sent out by the divine phoenix. They were probably still sunk in the trial, enraptured by the flood of beauty. They did not know that they had lost their chance to obtain the inheritance of the divine phoenix. The tests of the inheritance of the divine phoenix were like that. No matter how many stages you passed, as long as you failed one stage, you would be immediately eliminated. After successive trials at each stage, in the end, only one person could obtain the inheritance. Lord Divine Phoenix, if I may ask, how many more stages do we have to pass? Black and White Holy Sun asked as he looked at the scarlet image in the void. There is one last stage, said the Divine Phoenix. There was only one last stage. When they heard the Divine Phoenix's words, the remaining 10+ cultivators relaxed. The Divine Phoenix's trials were really confusing. It was impossible to guard against its dreamlike enchantment skills. Even the most confident of them was unable to predict whether they would be able to pass the unknown test. Fortunately, there was only one last stage left. However, the last stage would probably be difficult. No matter what, only one person could obtain the inheritance of the Divine Phoenix. The rest would be eliminated. The Divine Phoenix immediately led everyone forward. After a while, Yi Qingtang and the others who had followed the Divine Phoenix arrived at an underground palace. This is, the moment the door of the underground palace opened, a rich display of lights and colors illuminated their eyes. They saw at a glance that the large palace contained countless rare treasures and gems. They were casually piled into heaps and glittered with numerous sparkles. The treasures were as numerous as the stars, dazzling everyone's eyes. At the entrance of the palace was a huge altar. Next to the altar were scattered many long-lost Dharma treasures. Divine Virtual Pagoda. Is that the legendary oracle bell? Everyone widened their eyes in disbelief. As they looked at legendary lost Dharma treasures, they were almost unable to believe their eyes. Some even secretly pinched their thighs, trying to prove that what they saw was reality and not something created by the Divine Phoenix's enchantment skills. What is this, Lord Divine Phoenix? This is, Black and White Holy Sun, asked the scarlet figure in the void. All this is part of the inheritance, the Divine Phoenix said slowly. The Divine Phoenix's words immediately stunned everyone. Every item present was extremely valuable. They would be content to obtain any one of them. As everyone can see, the Divine Phoenix said, the fourth stage involves gains and losses. Gains and losses? Absolute Monarch of Heaven pondered this for a moment but still did not understand the meaning behind the Divine Phoenix's words. That's right, the Divine Phoenix said. Loss means to lose the inheritance of the Divine Phoenix. Gain means to gain these Dharma treasures. Every trial taker is free to equally share out all the treasure here. But the price of this is the loss of the true inheritance of the Divine Phoenix. This, everyone present was stunned. They had not expected the fourth stage to be like this. Similarly, if anyone persists in obtaining the inheritance of the Divine Phoenix, then, they are not destined to have these Dharma treasures. However, ultimately, only one person who can obtain the inheritance of the Divine Phoenix. That is also to say, even if we give up these Dharma treasures, we may not obtain the inheritance of the Divine Phoenix. One of the cultivators said with a frown. That's right. The Divine Phoenix looked at the cultivator who had spoken. For a moment, everyone was in a dilemma and did not know what to do. Of course, they were aware of the incredible value of the Dharma treasures before them. If they missed this opportunity, they might never be destined to encounter them again. However, their goal in coming here was the inheritance of the Divine Phoenix. This trade-off truly vexed everyone. Both outcomes were greatly alluring. Just as everyone was pondering the matter, a figure was the first to emerge from the group. Yi Qingtang lifted her eyes and saw that the figure who had gone forward was Absolute Monarch of Heaven. Absolute Monarch of Heaven's expression was completely natural. He walked straight towards the golden divine virtual pagoda. As everyone watched, Absolute Monarch of Heaven decisively took the divine virtual pagoda. My thanks to Lord Divine Phoenix. Absolute Monarch of Heaven placed the divine virtual pagoda in his space ring, then cupped his fist, and looked at the divine phoenix. If you choose this Dharma treasure, it is equivalent to giving up your rights to be the successor of the inheritance of the divine phoenix, the divine phoenix said. Absolute Monarch of Heaven was expressionless when he heard that. He nodded slightly and said, "It's all right. To me, the value of the divine virtual pagoda is sufficient." That's right, legend has it that the divine virtual pagoda contains a very unusual space. If a cultivator enters the divine virtual pagoda to cultivate, he will achieve twice the results with half the effort. It is as if a day within the pagoda is equivalent to just an hour in the external world. Just think, even if the value of the inheritance of the divine phoenix is greater, only one person can be so lucky. If we give up the treasures here and fail to obtain the inheritance of the divine phoenix, won't we wish we had died? When he finished speaking, one of the cultivators immediately went forward and chose one of the Dharma treasures. Herb of Heavenly Life. Suddenly, an old man dressed in a black robe, with an overcast expression, looked at the plant and exclaimed in surprise. That's right. A cultivator who uses the herb of heavenly life will increase his natural lifespan by 1,000 years, the divine phoenix said. When he heard that, the black-robed old man's body quivered slightly. He had come to this land because he had only a few years left. He wanted to try his luck and to see if he could, by chance, advance his cultivation state and increase his lifespan. However, the black-robed old man had never thought that he would find the legendary herb of heavenly life here. Lord Divine Phoenix, may I take the herb of heavenly life? I give up the inheritance of the divine phoenix. The black-robed old man looked longingly at the divine phoenix. To the black-robed old man, no matter how powerful the inheritance was or how valuable the Dharma treasures were, they could not compare to extending his lifespan. Without life, what use were the Dharma treasures to him? You may, the divine phoenix said. At the divine phoenix's acquiescence, the black-robed old man's eyes filled with wild joy. He immediately carefully kept the herb of heavenly life. Everyone present knew the value of the divine virtual pagoda and the herb of heavenly life. Previously, some of them suspected that the treasures before them were created by the divine phoenix's enchantment skills. But now, they saw with their own eyes that absolute monarch of heaven and the black-robed old man had successively placed the divine virtual pagoda and the herb of heavenly life in their own space rings. Only then did they believe that all this was real. At that moment, everyone was amazed by the divine phoenix's generosity. It was actually giving away these treasures. One must understand that if any one of these treasures were found outside, it would cause many conflicts. It must be said that these Dharma treasures were more tempting to them than the real inheritance of the divine phoenix. Just as everyone was exclaiming in amazement, Yi Qingtang's eyes were suddenly drawn to a bronze mirror. It was just an ordinary bronze mirror, except that a circle of strange totems was carved around its borders. These totems seemed to be covered by a layer of rust and looked extremely ancient. Among the heap of treasures, this bronze mirror was not outstanding. But at that moment, it attracted Yi Qingtang's full attention. Mirror of Illusions. Legend had it that this Dharma treasure that could transform all martial skills into matter. At that moment, Yi Qingtang looked in amazement at the bronze mirror. Her expression held a rarely seen look of shock. Yi Qingtang had heard about the Mirror of Illusions in her previous life. It could be considered a sacred mirror. Even when she had become a holy venerate, she had not been destined to obtain a Dharma treasure like this. Yi Qingtang previously had not thought much about the pile of treasures before her. But when she saw the mirror of illusion, she was somewhat tempted. The mirror of illusions could convert any force into pure material energy, no matter how great the force. For example, if Yi Qingtang faced a paragon-level cultivator and the paragon slashed out with an apocalyptic stroke of his sword, if the mirror of illusions shone on it, then the sword gleam would be transformed into stone, or rain, or some completely ordinary material that had almost no lethality. It could be used to block the martial skills of the most powerful cultivator. Would it not be wonderful to have such an object with her? Ah, the mirror of illusions. I never thought that I would see this Dharma treasure in my lifetime. The man in black armor had also noticed the mirror of illusions. He instinctively took a step forward. His body quivered, and his expression became extremely agitated. It's just a lousy mirror. What good is it? Yin Yang Child saw how agitated the man in black armor was and quietly took a step forward. Yin Yang Child glanced disdainfully at the ordinary-looking ancient mirror. Lousy mirror. The man in black armor looked at Yin Yang Child and laughed coldly. Little fellow, you don't know anything. Why don't we give it a try? Ah. I'm afraid you'll die under my sword, Yin Yang Child said coldly. Lord Divine Phoenix, may I test it? The man in black armor looked at the Divine Phoenix. You may. The Divine Phoenix agreed immediately. When they heard that, everyone turned their attention in that direction. Everyone was aware of the Mirror of Illusion's reputation. Of course, they knew about its extraordinary powers, but no one had been fortunate enough to see it. At that moment, the desire to enrich their experiences naturally arose in all of them. The man in black armor picked up the Mirror of Illusions and raised his brows slightly. He said to Yin Yang Child, draw your sword. Clank. The long sword was unsheathed with a crisp ringing sound. It truly suited Yin Yang Child. Strike me, the man in black armor said fearlessly. This is the first time I've heard such an unreasonable request. When he heard the man in black armor's words, Yin Yang Child laughed coldly, and a cold light flashed across his eyes. Since the Divine Phoenix had already agreed that they could act, he had no restraint. As he spoke, Yin Yang Child flicked his wrist. The long sword glittered with cold light as it swept towards the man in black armor. Swoosh! A frightening howl emerged. A visible sword gleam swept towards the man in black armor with great speed. However, the man in black armor did not panic. He raised the Mirror of Illusions in his hand slightly. In the next second, a strange luster appeared on the Mirror of Illusions under everyone's disbelieving gaze. The sword gleam from Yin Yang Child's stroke was immediately transformed into blocks of wood. Clank! 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 The wooden blocks fell heavily to the ground. The man in black armor stood at the same spot, untouched. The formless sword gleam had actually been transformed by the Mirror of Illusions into blocks of wood. If they had not seen it with their own eyes, no one in this world would believe that such a thing could happen. To think that such a treasure exists. Truly frightening. Everyone was stunned when they witnessed the power of the Mirror of Illusions. If they had the Mirror of Illusions, even the most terrifying strike could be defused easily. Yin Yang Child, did you see that? That was what you called a lousy mirror. The man in black armor laughed. It's still a lousy mirror. Yin Yang Child shrugged. It can block my sword gleam, but can it block my fists? Without waiting for the man in black armor to respond, Yin Yang Child stepped forward and punched the man in the face. The man in black armor was completely unprepared, and Yin Yang Child's fist smashed viciously into his face. You see, it can't block my fists, Yin Yang Child said. You have a death wish. The man in black armor roared in rage. He instantly kicked out and struck Yin Yang Child squarely in the stomach. The force of the kick sent Yin Yang Child flying. You wanted to give it a try, how dare you retaliate? Young child clambered up and shouted in rage. I allowed you to unsheath your sword and strike me, but I didn't allow you to hit me with your fists, the man in black armor said. I'll kill you. Young child was enraged. He struck a pose, ready to fight to the death with the man in black armor. How dare you? The divine phoenix suddenly shouted coldly. When the divine phoenix spoke, Young child and the man in black armor fell silent. They immediately retreated and did not dare to make a false move. Lord Divine Phoenix, I don't want the inheritance of the Divine Phoenix. I want this. After a moment, the man in black armor spoke to the Divine Phoenix. What of the inheritance of the Divine Phoenix? Just the mirror of illusions was enough. All right. The Divine Phoenix nodded. But I need to warn you that the mirror of illusions was refined by the ancestor of the Divine Phoenix. Only those of the Divine Phoenix's bloodline can use it. To someone without the bloodline of the Divine Phoenix, it will just be a piece of useless metal. You need to have the bloodline of the Divine Phoenix to use it. The man in black armor was stunned. Then, he frowned and said, Lord Divine Phoenix. I don't have the bloodline of the Divine Phoenix. But as everyone saw with their own eyes, I used the mirror of illusions just now. That's because this is the place of my death. The surroundings are imbued with the power of my bloodline, and that's why you could use it. The Divine Phoenix explained. When he heard the Divine Phoenix's words, the eyes of the man in black armor were immediately veiled with immense disappointment. In that case, even if the mirror of illusions fell into his hands, it would be completely useless. The bloodline of the Phoenix can use it. Amongst the group, a delicate-looking girl looked thoughtful. A hot luster shone in her eyes. But the luster quickly vanished, and she returned to normal. Although some of the Dharma treasures here cannot compare to the mirror of illusions, they are not very different in terms of grade. The Divine Phoenix spoke again. When he heard that, the man in black armor cheered up and went to select another Dharma treasure. The others had personally witnessed the power of the mirror of illusions, and their thoughts had also changed. The inheritance of the Divine Phoenix might be good. But ultimately, only one person could obtain it. None of them could be sure that they would be the lucky one. If they stood firm and did not obtain the inheritance of the Divine Phoenix, they might also not be destined to have these Dharma treasures. After weighing the pros and cons, almost everyone chose to select a Dharma treasure that they were certain to get. After all, the value of these Dharma treasures was already sufficient for them. They did not have to fight to the end for the inheritance of the Divine Phoenix. As the saying goes, a bird in hand was better than two in the bush. As everyone was choosing their Dharma treasure, there were two figures that did not move. Are the two of you intending to forego these Dharma treasures? The Divine Phoenix looked at Yi Qingtang and a girl in green, who had not chosen a Dharma treasure. At that moment, only the two of them had not moved. Lord Divine Phoenix, I wish to try for the inheritance of the Divine Phoenix, the girl in green said. Me too. Yi Qingtang replied. Ling Yan had told her that the inheritance of the Divine Phoenix would surely be hers. For some reason, to date, Yi Qingtang had great faith in Ling Yan's judgment and did not doubt it in the least. Otherwise, Yi Qingtang would certainly have taken the mirror of illusions and left. Since Ling Yan had personally said it, Yi Qingtang would believe him this time. The Divine Phoenix nodded after obtaining Yi Qingtang and the girl in green's responses. The Divine Phoenix looked at Absolute Monarch of Heaven and the other 10 over people and said, these Dharma treasures are part of the inheritance. Since you have obtained these Dharma treasures, it is equivalent to obtaining part of the inheritance of the Divine Phoenix. However, there is a condition. What condition is it? Absolute Monarch of Heaven asked. In the future, you cannot be at odds with the Divine Phoenix's successor. As far as possible, you must help and assist the Divine Phoenix, the Divine Phoenix said. I see. I agree. Absolute monarch of heaven thought for a while and agreed readily. The divine phoenix was probably doing this to pave the way for the only person who obtained the inheritance of the divine phoenix. Once they took the Dharma treasures here, in the future, they could not oppose the successor of the divine phoenix and also needed to give a certain amount of help. No wonder the divine phoenix was so generous. In order to obtain these treasures, everyone had no choice but to agree. The successor of the divine phoenix would certainly be either Yi Qingtang or the girl in green. As there was no enmity between them and Yi Qingtang or the girl in green, of course, they would not oppose them in the future. They also had no problem helping them as much as possible. This was nothing compared to the Dharma treasures. Lord Divine Phoenix, in the future, if the successor of the Divine Phoenix needs any help, I will do my best, said the old man in black, who had obtained the herb of heavenly life, as he went forward. So will I, no problem at all. In the future, all of us can be considered as kin to the Divine Phoenix. It is natural that we should help each other. The 10+ cultivators spoke readily. Mere words are not enough. You must sign the heavenly Tao blood pact, said the divine phoenix. The 10 over cultivators had no choice but to sign the heavenly Tao blood pact with the divine phoenix. In the future, they must not oppose the successor of the divine phoenix and needed to provide as much help as they could. If they failed to do so, they would suffer the effects of the heavenly Tao blood pact. Very well. Now that you have obtained part of my inheritance, you are considered my disciples. I hope we will be destined to meet again. The divine phoenix was relieved. With that, the bodies of the 10+ people slowly vanished as they were sent out by the divine phoenix. At that moment, only Yi Qingtang and the girl in green were left in the palace. The inheritance of the divine phoenix will emerge among the two of you, said the divine phoenix. When they heard that, Yi Qingtang nodded, but the girl in green expressed her thanks. I will test your martial talent, spirit root, and bloodlines. As the divine phoenix spoke, it moved over to the girl in green. A scarlet glow shrouded in the girl in green. Top martial talents, blue spirit root among the red, orange, yellow, green, cyan, blue and purple of the mortal world, shrouded by the scarlet glow, the girl in green's talent and spirit root were completely exposed. Blue spirit root, Yi Qingtang was thoughtful. This was no ordinary girl. One must know that a blue spirit root had not appeared for many years in this mainland. At that time, Yi Qingtang's spirit root was already considered extremely rare in this mainland. And it was only a green spirit root. But the girl in front of her was actually a blue spirit root. However, before Yi Qingtang had time to think further, an image of the divine phoenix emerged from the girl in green's body. Phoenix bloodline. When it saw the girl's phoenix bloodline, the divine phoenix's eyes showed a trace of surprise that quickly transformed into joy. If the successor of the divine phoenix had the phoenix bloodline, that would be even better. Phoenix bloodline. Yi Qingtang was stunned. She had not thought that this girl in green would possess the phoenix bloodline. Ling Yan, your calculations had better be correct. At that moment, Yi Qingtang felt a little worried. This girl in green had not behaved unusually and had not attracted anyone's attention. Who would have thought she would be so extraordinary? Very good. After a long time, the divine phoenix nodded at the girl in green. It was extremely satisfied with the girl in green's condition. The inheritance of the divine phoenix seemed to be tailor-made for her. Lord Divine Phoenix, since that is the case, is it still necessary to continue? The girl in green was not at all surprised by the outcome. Her delicate-looking face was filled with self-confidence. She glanced at Yi Qingtang out of the corner of her eye. Of course, we must continue. It's the rule, replied the divine phoenix. A scarlet gleam immediately shrouded Yi Qingtang. Superior martial talent, yellow spirit root among the red, orange, yellow, green, cyan, blue and purple of the mortal world. The divine phoenix muttered in disappointment. The truth was that no matter what kind of spirit root Yi Qingtang had, it was not important to the divine phoenix. Even if the girl in green had a red spirit root, she still had the phoenix bloodline. Yi Qingtang saw that if matters continued in this vein, she would not be destined to obtain the inheritance of the divine phoenix. With a flash of light, a golden image of a phoenix emerged behind Yi Qingtang, and the call of the phoenix rang out from her mouth. The next moment, golden flames erupted from Yi Qingtang's body. At that moment, Yi Qingtang's entire body was covered in flames. Added to the image of the phoenix behind her, her entire person looked like a divine phoenix undergoing the rise of the phoenix. This scene caused the divine phoenix's expression to change. Ultimate origin skill. Rise of the phoenix. When the girl in green saw the golden image of a phoenix behind Yi Qingtang, she wrinkled her elegant brows slightly. The ultimate origin skill was derived from paragon skills. Although it was not part of the phoenix bloodline, to be able to understand the paragon skill related to the phoenix meant that the person had a close connection with the phoenix. Her paragon skill was already so formidable, what's more, it was her ultimate origin skill. Legend had it that before the world was created, a true God existed in the universe. After the world appeared, the true God fell, and every true God was subject to rebirth, and they were reborn as humans. According to legends, once any cultivator understood the paragon skill, it was as if his body remembered the genetic composition of the true God and longed to return to its shrine. Those who understood ultimate origin skill were even more powerful. In other words, this girl who had understood the ultimate origin skill, rise of the phoenix, was even more suited to the inheritance of the divine phoenix than the girl in green with the phoenix bloodline. Yes, not bad. The divine phoenix withdrew the scarlet glow and said to Yi Qingtang. If I may ask the Lord Divine Phoenix, which of us is more suitable to be your successor? The girl in green asked. Although you are very suitable, unfortunately, she is even more suitable, said the divine phoenix. What? When she heard the divine phoenix's reply, the smile was wiped off the girl in green's face. The girl in green had not expected the divine phoenix to respond like that. The truth was that the girl in green was from a mutated demonic bloodline which could absorb the power of all the bloodlines in the world. Half a year ago, she had killed a girl who had the phoenix bloodline, then used her own mutated demonic bloodline to swallow her opponent's phoenix bloodline, and transformed it into a part of herself. This time, she had relied on her possessing the phoenix bloodline and was certain that she could obtain the inheritance of the divine phoenix. That was why she had not wavered at all when faced with the Dharma treasures earlier. Yet, who would have thought, this would be the outcome? Is that so? The girl in green's icy cold look fell on Yi Qingtang. Then I must congratulate you. Yi Qingtang frowned slightly when she sensed the cold gleam that shimmered in the eyes of the girl in green. This girl, who peak martial talents, a blue spirit root, and phoenix bloodline, gave one a sense of inscrutable power. She could also tell that after the divine phoenix chose her as its successor, the girl in green would be very hostile towards her. Go back. Without giving Yi Qingtang an opportunity to speak, the divine phoenix issued a command, and the girl in green's body turned transparent before she was sent out. Now, only Yi Qingtang and the divine phoenix were left in the empty palace. You have ultimate origin skill and are related to the phoenix. You are best suited to be my successor and follow in my footsteps, said the divine phoenix. Thank you, Lord Divine Phoenix. Yi Qingtang thanked the divine phoenix and could not help but heave a sigh of relief. Ling Yan's judgment was truly startling in its accuracy. I will also give you the Mirror of Illusions. With that, the Mirror of Illusions that had been abandoned by the others drifted by itself to Yi Qingtang's hand. Yi Qingtang's eyes brightened slightly. She had thought that after she had chosen the inheritance of the divine phoenix, she was no longer destined to have the mirror of illusions. Who knew? Yi Qingtang immediately accepted the mirror of illusions. She was extremely grateful to the divine phoenix. "Come with me," said the divine phoenix. After a short while, Yi Qingtang had followed the divine phoenix into the depths of the palace. In front of them was a gigantic skeleton which gave off an indescribable, terrible majesty. This skeleton had died many moons ago. Even so, the moment one went near, its terrible power burst forth. The powerful majesty transformed into a frightening might that seemed to shroud the entire world. "This is," Yi Qingtang looked at the divine phoenix in shock. "As you can see, these are my bones," said the divine phoenix. The divine phoenix had died millions of years ago. The scarlet image today was just a remnant of its divine sense. "I see." Yi Qingtang studied the skeleton with a shocked expression. In her 2 lives, this was the first time she was seeing the existence of such a frightening thing. This must be a mature fiend celestial beast at the initial grade. It contained more power than even Yi Qingtang could imagine. Even after the little white tiger reached maturity, it would not be as powerful. "Greetings, Senior." Little white tiger suddenly popped its head out of Yi Qingtang's arms and spoke to the scarlet image. "Oh," the divine phoenix studied little white tiger and said thoughtfully, "Are you from the white tiger clan of the 4 fiend celestial beasts?" "Yes, Senior divine phoenix." Little white tiger nodded obediently. When the divine phoenix was nearing the peak of its initial grade, little white tiger's father had probably not been born. "Yes, not bad. You are unusual to be able to tame a young fiend celestial beast from the white tiger clan." The divine phoenix looked at Yi Qingtang and spoke in relief. "Kneel." The divine phoenix suddenly spoke, without waiting for Yi Qingtang to reply. When she heard that, Yi Qingtang knelt without hesitation and bowed to the divine phoenix. "From now on, you are my successor. In the future, if you meet the divine phoenix clan, you must treat them well. Do you understand?" asked the divine phoenix. "I understand," said Yi Qingtang. "Very well, arise," said the divine phoenix. With that, Yi Qingtang rose slowly. "Leave us for a while. I have something I need to say to her," said the divine phoenix as it looked at the little white tiger in Yi Qingtang's arms. "Yes, Senior." Little white tiger jumped from Yi Qingtang's arms to the ground. It also dragged out the little lightning dragon and vanished without a trace. "What is your name?" The divine phoenix looked at Yi Qingtang. "My surname is Yi, my name is Qingtang." Yi Qingtang answered truthfully. "Qingtang, you are my successor. I will transfer the true bloodline of the divine phoenix to you." As the divine phoenix spoke, the scarlet glow transformed into a scarlet roaring flame that immediately engulfed Yi Qingtang. Yi Qingtang was not harmed by this indescribable flame. Instead, the golden flame in her body seemed to resonate with it and leaped forth. Chapter 933 Inheritance of the Bloodline 4. At that moment, it was as if Yi Qingtang was wrapped in a small sun. Her entire body radiated with a startling glow. "This is the purest power of my inheritance. You will need time to break it down and integrate it. You cannot leave until you have absorbed the entire power of the inheritance," said the divine phoenix as it looked at Yi Qingtang. When she heard that, Yi Qingtang nodded slightly. However, she could help but be shocked. The power of the inheritance of the divine phoenix was so great that it was frightening. "Having obtained my inheritance, I hope that you will agree to a condition." The divine phoenix thought for a long time before it spoke. "Condition?" Yi Qingtang was slightly taken aback by the divine phoenix's words but immediately asked, "What does the Lord Divine Phoenix require of me?" "My clan." The divine phoenix finally spoke after a long pause. "The phoenix clan of the 4 fiend celestial beasts." Yi Qingtang looked thoughtful. "That's right, the phoenix clan." The divine phoenix nodded. I died too long ago. Today, only a trace of my remaining spirit is speaking to you. However, when I was dying, I could sense that something changed in my clan. Their aura dissipated slowly, as if they were under some kind of indescribable oppression. Oppression? Yi Qingtang looked shocked and was even a little disbelieving. As one of the 4 fiend celestial beasts, the Phoenix clan was incredibly powerful. They did not lack mature phoenixes. Even those of the initial grade would still exist within the clan. Who in this world could oppress the Phoenix clan? Even the legendary true god would not be able to easily achieve that. Yi Qingtang suddenly remembered that it was not just the Phoenix clan. She had heard Little White Tiger mention that its clan and parents, the White Tiger clan, were also one of the 4 fiend celestial beasts. However, from the bits and pieces that Little White Tiger had told her, Yi Qingtang had discerned that the White Tiger clan seemed to have encountered some kind of startling change. Now, Yi Qingtang heard from the Divine Phoenix that the Phoenix clan might have encountered some kind of oppression. Further, the Phoenix clan and the White Tiger clan both belonged to the 4 fiend celestial beasts. Perhaps there was some kind of connection between the two of them. Lord Divine Phoenix, I will do my best to investigate and find out the truth. Yi Qingtang spoke after a long pause. No need to force the matter. Your life is more important, said the Divine Phoenix. To repress the Phoenix clan of the 4 fiend celestial beasts, the entity must possess supernatural martial power. It was a pity that the Divine Phoenix had died millions of years ago and was unable to leave this place to return to the habitat of the Phoenix clan. It was also unsure what had actually happened to the Phoenix clan. I will remember, promised Yi Qingtang. In the future, when you have grown, you must remember where your inheritance is from. You must do your utmost to help me find out the truth. After that, return here and tell me the truth, said the Divine Phoenix. Lord Divine Phoenix, please don't worry. I understand. Yi Qingtang nodded. Yi Qingtang was very respectful of the Divine Phoenix. Even though it had died millions of years, it still had a deep longing for the Phoenix clan. In this world, few could do as the Divine Phoenix had done. To Yi Qingtang, whether it was the Phoenix clan or the White Tiger clan, they all held special meaning in her heart. In both lifetimes, Yi Qingtang never thought that she would have any connection to a fiend celestial beast. However, after her rebirth, she first became linked to the Little White Tiger and then obtained the inheritance of the Divine Phoenix to become the only descendant of the Divine Phoenix. It seemed that she had an unknown fate with fiend celestial beasts in this life. In the Divine Phoenix's warm envelopment, about half a month had slipped by unconsciously. During this period of time, the blood in Yi Qingtang's body seemed to be cleansed over and over again. Currently, her blood had turned into scorching flames of which the divine might was unstoppable. The original Divine Phoenix bloodline. At this moment, Yi Qingtang's eyes were burning. Bloodlines were divided into ranks as well. For the Phoenix bloodline, there had been too many renewals of bloodline since the primordial era, but the purest form was the original bloodline. Yi Qingtang's bloodline was personally imparted by the Divine Phoenix and was the purest form. In the case of the girl in green from before, although she also had the Phoenix bloodline, it was not as pure as Yi Qingtang's original Phoenix bloodline. The difference and hierarchy between both bloodlines was like that of a monarch and a subject. Qingtang, how is your current cultivation base after absorbing a large amount of the power of the bloodline? The Divine Phoenix asked some time later. Yi Qingtang hurriedly replied. Lord Divine Phoenix, I have already advanced from Yin-Yang 3rd heaven to 5th heaven. 5th heaven, hearing that Yi Qingtang only entered the 5th heaven, the Divine Phoenix was taken aback. According to logic, even if the person was an extremely ordinary person without any martial skills, their martial cultivation would at least enter the arcane supremacy realm after obtaining its inheritance. Yi Qingtang was already at the Yin-Yang perfected Lord 3rd heaven realm before this, yet she only advanced 2 small realms after inheriting large amounts of the power of its bloodline. Lord Divine Phoenix. Did something happen? Yi Qingtang's heart skipped a beat when she heard the odd tone in the Divine Phoenix's voice. Don't panic first. It'll take a look after you have completely combined and absorbed the bloodline inheritance, said the Divine Phoenix. Since the Divine Phoenix said that, Yi Qingtang did not say anything and could only continue to wait. The burning sensation which enveloped Yi Qingtang was like the rays of a mini-sun that dimmed over time. Another half a month later, all of the flames were completely absorbed by Yi Qingtang. What is your cultivation realm now? The Divine Phoenix opened its eyes and looked at Yi Qingtang, who had finished absorbing all of the powers of its bloodline. Lord Divine Phoenix, I am currently in the Yang Lord realm, and at the peak of the seventh heaven. Yi Qingtang answered. Peak of Yin Yang perfected Lord seventh heaven. You haven't reached the eighth heaven. What exactly is going on? The Divine Phoenix's tone was extremely strange. The Divine Phoenix was immensely confident in its bloodline inheritance. According to logic, after absorbing its bloodline inheritance completely, Yi Qingtang should at least be able to advance to the Divine Arcane Supremacy realm and even be at the Heavenly Venerate realm. Even those ordinary humans without any martial cultivation should be able to enter the Divine Arcane Supremacy realm after obtaining its inheritance. Yet Yi Qingtang, who possessed a high martial gift and the blessing of the ultimate origin skill, Rise of the Phoenix, only advanced 4 small realms. How could this be possible? That's not right. What exactly went wrong? The Divine Phoenix mumbled as it pondered deeply. A while later, the Divine Phoenix finally looked at Yi Qingtang and said, I need to look at your body again. Yi Qingtang was extremely cooperative and nodded her head in agreement with the Divine Phoenix's request. Very quickly, a scarlet glow enveloped Yi Qingtang once again. Superior martial gift that is close to top-notch quality. Possession of the ultimate origin skill, Rise of the Phoenix. There is nothing wrong with this. But what exactly is the problem? The Divine Phoenix could not find an answer no matter how hard it pondered. It was as though the majority of the powers of its inheritance disappeared somewhere. Very quickly, the scarlet glow intensified, and the Divine Phoenix scanned every area of Yi Qingtang's body. Your bloodline. A long time later, the Divine Phoenix mumbled with a little surprise. Apart from its bloodline, the power of a primitive bloodline was actually hidden in Yi Qingtang's body. This bloodline had yet to be truly activated, but it was terrifyingly powerful. Is this actually the immortal and Buddha bloodline? The Divine Phoenix seemed to be in deep thought before it looked at Yi Qingtang. Have you ever been to the fourth domain? The fourth domain? Yi Qingtang shook her head in reply. Lord Divine Phoenix, I have never been to the fourth domain. Do you know that your body has the immortal and Buddha bloodline? The Divine Phoenix asked. Immortal and Buddha bloodline? Yi Qingtang was slightly startled. Why would there be the immortal and Buddha bloodline in her body? The immortal and Buddha bloodline is passed down by generations. Unless the person was a descendant of an immortal and Buddha, it is impossible for anyone to obtain the immortal and Buddha bloodline through any means. Since you have never been to the fourth domain, it should be that either your father or mother possesses the bloodline. After giving birth to you, the bloodline was inherited, and you naturally have this type of bloodline as well. The Divine Phoenix explained. My parents. Yi Qingtang's brows were slightly furrowed. She had already investigated in Nine Nights Dynasty, and all the evidence pointed to the fact that her mother once appeared on this mainland. Moreover, it was extremely likely that her mother was in the central mainland or was just a citizen of the central mainland. Yet, presently, the Divine Phoenix personally told her that either her father or mother possessed the immortal and Buddha bloodline. The power of this bloodline is extremely powerful, but it is still inactive. However, the immortal and Buddha bloodline is about opportunity. Perhaps, it wouldn't be able to activate in this lifetime. You don't need to think too much about it. The Divine Phoenix added. I understand, said Yi Qingtang. However, the divine phoenix paused and continued. Even if you have the immortal and Buddha bloodline, what has it got to do with the disappearance of most of the bloodline power that I inherited to you? Without giving Yi Qingtang a chance to speak, the divine phoenix continued to study Yi Qingtang's body constitution. About 10 breaths later, the divine phoenix finally looked at Yi Qingtang's heart. How can this be? After it inspected Yi Qingtang's heart for a long time, the divine phoenix's expression changed suddenly. Lord Divine Phoenix, may I know what happened? Yi Qingtang asked hurriedly. Does your heart belong to you? The divine phoenix asked sternly. Seeing that the divine phoenix was so solemn, Yi Qingtang hesitated for a moment but finally told the truth. Lord Divine Phoenix, this heart is indeed not mine, where is it from? The divine phoenix asked again. The heart of the demon god, is from the demon god. Helpless, Yi Qingtang could only confess everything. Impossible. How is that the heart of the demon god in your body? The divine phoenix exclaimed particularly solemnly. This is clearly the heart of the heavenly Tao. What has it got to do with the so-called demon god? Heart of the heavenly Tao. In both lives, it was the first time Yi Qingtang heard about this supposed heart of the heavenly Tao. What was the heart of the heavenly Tao? It was clearly the heart of the demon god in her body, but why did it become the heart of the heavenly Tao, something she had never heard before, when said by the divine phoenix? Qingtang, where did you get this heart from? The divine phoenix looked at Yi Qingtang and questioned. Confusion filled Yi Qingtang's face. Even Yi Qingtang, herself, did not know where exactly the heart of the demon god in her body came from. It was as though the heart of the demon god was stored in her body when she woke up from sleep. Seeing that Yi Qingtang was unaware as well, the divine phoenix's expression turned solemn. Qingtang, most of the inheritance's ability which I passed to you was absorbed by this heart in your body. What you obtained is only an extremely tiny portion. However, it is fortunate that the bloodline is combined rather completely. Yi Qingtang was slightly startled and in disbelief when she heard the divine phoenix. The heart of the demon god in her body was not the heart of the demon god but the heart of the heavenly Tao. Furthermore, this heart even devoured the power of the inheritance which the divine phoenix gave her. Yi Qingtang's mind was a little confused for a moment, she truly did not know what exactly happened. The heart of the demon god which she had always believed to be, was actually completely unrelated to the demon god, immortal and Buddha bloodline. Heart of the heavenly Tao. I see why. A long time later, the scarlet glow on Yi Qingtang's body was collected back by the divine phoenix. Lord Divine Phoenix, please resolve my doubts. What exactly is going on with the heart of the heavenly Tao? Yi Qingtang looked at the divine phoenix with desperation to find all her answers. The heart of the heavenly Tao belongs to the heavenly Tao. Only the powers of the heavenly Tao can condense and nurture it. However, you are merely a mortal, but the heart of the heavenly Tao is in your body. This is sufficient to show that you became a vessel. The divine phoenix stared at Yi Qingtang meaningfully. Vessel? Yi Qingtang frowned as she listened to the divine phoenix's explanation. I have already died for millions of years and am completely unaware of what is happening outside right now. This is merely my conjecture. Actually, it is difficult for an ordinary person to nurture the heart of the heavenly Tao. It is just that you happen to possess the immortal and Buddha bloodline in your body, which coincidentally contains a trace of the power of the great Tao. Hence, the heart of the heavenly Tao remained in your body for a long time. I don't know why you have the heart of the heavenly Tao, but it is definitely not a good thing to have it in your body, the divine phoenix said with a sigh. Yi Qingtang did not have anything to retort the divine phoenix. Indeed, this heart brought her too many disasters. Everyone thought that the heart in her body was the heart of the demon god and vied for it one after another, resulting in Yi Qingtang's eventual death in her previous life. Even Yi Qingtang, herself, never doubted the authenticity of the heart of the demon god. If she did not hear it from the divine phoenix, she probably would never doubt this heart. Qingtang, this heart of the heavenly Tao will devour your cultivation endlessly. If you didn't have this heart, you would probably already be a Yang Lord of the Yin-Yang perfected Lord realm and not a mere Yin-Yang perfected Lord third heaven realm. With the addition of the power of my inheritance, you would already have advanced to a heavenly venerate. Pity was evident in the divine phoenix's voice. Lord Divine Phoenix, may I ask if there's any way to take this heart out? Yi Qingtang looked at the divine phoenix and asked with a frown. How long has this heart been in your body? If it's less than a month, perhaps there's still a chance for remedy, the divine phoenix said. It has long been over a month. Yi Qingtang replied. There's no way then. The divine phoenix sighed. This heart of the heavenly Tao has been in your body for a long time, and there would be dire consequences once it is taken out. Chapter 937 The heart of the heavenly Tao for misfortune may be a blessing in disguise. Qingtang, you don't need to be too worried. No one is able to determine whether it is a blessing or a disguise. Although this heart may bring you endless calamities, if you make use of it appropriately, perhaps you can reprieve from death. You must remember never to believe the heart of the heavenly Tao of yours. Otherwise, you will definitely be struck with a death calamity and cease to exist. The divine phoenix advised earnestly in a grave tone. Thank you for the advice, Lord Divine Phoenix. I will engrave this in my heart. Yi Qingtang thanked the divine phoenix. Currently, Yi Qingtang only wished to know what exactly was it with this so-called heart of the heavenly Tao in her body. How did it enter her body? Who did it belong to? Why did she become a vessel for it? What kind of presence was the mastermind who used her to nurture this heart? Qingtang, my last remaining power is already fully depleted. I hope that you can remember that you are the successor of the divine phoenix. When you meet any difficulties, don't retreat and brave it head-on. The divine phoenix's voice suddenly weakened at that instant. The divine phoenix had already died millions of years ago, and this last trace of spirit was just a search for the only successor. Now, the divine phoenix had already fulfilled its wishes, and there was no regret to be spoken of. Lord Divine Phoenix, for some reason, dejection arose within Yi Qingtang as she looked at the divine phoenix which was about to vanish. Immediately, Yi Qingtang knelt on the ground and kowtowed to the divine phoenix. Thank you, Lord Divine Phoenix. I will never forget that I am the successor of the divine phoenix. Good, the divine phoenix was gratified. In my last moment, let me give you a final present. As it spoke, a scarlet glow suddenly surged out and penetrated into Yi Qingtang's body. This scarlet glow instantly wrapped Yi Qingtang's heart of the heavenly Tao, and an extremely powerful force sealed the heart of the heavenly Tao utterly. Lord Divine Phoenix, Yi Qingtang gazed at the divine phoenix. Even at its very last moment, its last trace of spirit was still thinking about her. Ah! What a pity! My powers have long been depleted over the years. Otherwise, I may be able to help you with the heart of the heavenly Tao. Qingtang, remember, this heart is temporarily sealed by me, but it will not persist for long. During this period of time, it will be unable to continue devouring your cultivation, and you can strengthen yourself to become even more formidable. As the divine phoenix finished its sentence, the scarlet figure in the air dimmed increasingly and eventually turned into invisible energy that lingered within the palace. Lord Divine Phoenix, seeing that the divine phoenix had disappeared completely, Yi Qingtang had a complicated expression. However, Yi Qingtang realized that although the divine phoenix's last trace of spirit had vanished, its energy was shackled in this palace. If I could obtain the spirit condensation pearl, Yi Qingtang mumbled in thought. Before Yi Qingtang could think deeply about the idea, it was as though heaven and earth reversed. It seemed like the blink of an eye, yet also as long as an entire century. When Yi Qingtang opened her eyes once again, she was already outside the palace, and that palace was nowhere to be found, as if it was hidden by an enormous power. Yi Qingtang, who obtained the inheritance of the divine phoenix, was finally sent out. Chapter 938 Devouring Bloodline 1. However, shortly after Yi Qingtang left the palace, the girl in green slowly emerged from behind a huge tree. It was the same girl, one who had passed to the last stage of the inheritance of the divine phoenix with Yi Qingtang. The girl had been confident that she would win when the divine phoenix had passed over her at the last moment. Instead, it was Yi Qingtang who obtained the inheritance of the divine phoenix. At that moment, the girl in green was looking at Yi Qingtang with ice-cold eyes. She had clearly been waiting for a long time. The girl in green slowly walked towards Yi Qingtang. "You have finally come out. I have been waiting here for a long time." The girl in green glared at Yi Qingtang and spoke coldly. Her eyes were filled with intense coldness. "Oh." Yi Qingtang stared at the girl in green and said calmly, "I have no dealings with you and don't know you. Why are you waiting here for me?" "Nothing much. I just wanted to congratulate you," said the girl in green. "Congratulate me?" The corners of the Yi Qingtang's mouth curved slightly, and she laughed coldly. "Thanks. Read more at Ellis novel, however," said the girl in green, as she suddenly narrowed her eyes. Her tone also changed. "Good things should be shared. The inheritance of the divine phoenix is the power of the original phoenix bloodline and is very pure. Can you share some of it with me? Otherwise, with your spirit root and ability, possessing such a pure and powerful bloodline will only endanger your life and bring calamity." The girl in green gave Yi Qingtang a disdainful look. "A mere yellow spirit root, what you mean is, that you intend to seize the power of my bloodline." Yi Qingtang laughed coldly as she looked at the girl in green. But Yi Qingtang was curious. The power of a bloodline was integrated with one's body. Unlike a spirit root, which had a physical body, and hence could be dug out from the body, it was impossible to seize the power of a bloodline. However, the girl in green seemed to be planning to seize her phoenix bloodline. How was she going to do that? "Ah," the girl in green laughed coldly. Her proud glance passed over Yi Qingtang, and her expression clearly showed her disdain. "I am not seizing, I am merely taking back. Only someone powerful can control and possess a powerful bloodline. It is not something that belongs to a weakling like you." As she spoke, the girl's frightening aura instantly diffused and spread out in a 10-meter wide circle that enclosed Yi Qingtang. Divine arcane supremacy. Yi Qingtang's eyes narrowed when she sensed the girl in green's martial aura. The girl in green was worthy of having peak martial talents and a blue spirit root. To have achieved this grade at her age, it was no exaggeration to say that she was a genius. If not for an accidental abortion of her plan, in the future, the girl in green would become a powerful cultivator of at least the Holy Venerate level, or perhaps even an Emperor-level Supreme Chief, which was above the level of Holy Venerate. It was just that although the girl in green had reached the stage of divine arcane supremacy, in this mainland where spirit energy was scarce, the girl in green's martial abilities and cultivation were repressed to the level of Yin-Yang perfected Lord 8th Heaven. Yi Qingtang had just obtained the bloodline passed to her by the divine phoenix and also possessed the mirror of illusions. Her own martial abilities had reached the stage of Yin-Yang perfected Lord 7th Heaven, so she had no reason to fear the girl in green. "You think you can beat me?" The eyes of the girl in green were cold and remote. "Do you think that you have nothing to fear because you have obtained the inheritance of the original phoenix?" Chapter 939 Devouring Bloodline 2. Before Yi Qingtang could speak, a voice suddenly rang out in her mind. "Miss Yi, this girl has a mutated demonic bloodline, which has evolved into the devouring bloodline. She can devour the power of all the bloodlines in the world. She is looking for an opportunity to devour your bloodline. Remember. Ling Yan. Yi Qingtang frowned slightly. It was indeed Ling Yan's voice. However, it was a voice that Ling Yan had sealed a long time ago with the power of karma. This meant that Ling Yan had known long ago that she would meet this girl in green and that this situation would develop. Ling Yan's schemes aside, Yi Qingtang was shocked by the girl in green's devouring bloodline. The devouring bloodline was also called the taboo bloodline. Since the time of the gods and sages, it was an invincible bloodline that had been cursed. This was not to say that the devouring bloodline itself was particularly strong. However, the devouring bloodline could devour all the bloodlines in the world. Even a god's bloodline could be easily devoured and converted for one's own use. Furthermore, it was already very difficult for most ordinary cultivators to possess the power of one bloodline. But the devouring bloodline was different. It could devour millions of bloodlines and integrate them into one body. Having the devouring bloodline was equivalent to possessing the power of all the bloodlines in the world. It could be said that whoever possessed the devouring bloodline could devour any bloodline in the world. There were many kinds of bloodlines in the world, each with a different effect. But all of them could give its possessor huge strength. The devouring bloodline that could devour all bloodlines was so powerful and dangerous that it was terrifying. However, the devouring bloodline was very rare. Even in primordial times, it had only appeared transiently. What's the matter? Are you scared now? The girl in green was looking at Yi Qingtang with a calm and icy expression. She continued to press towards Yi Qingtang at a moderate pace. Yi Qingtang ignored the girl. She was still pondering the meaning of Ling Yan's words. The meaning of the voice that Ling Yan had sealed was amply clear: she should allow the girl in green to devour the power of her bloodline. However, Yi Qingtang was unable to comprehend Ling Yan's line of thought. Why should the power of her bloodline be devoured by the girl in green? Could it be that the immortal and Buddha bloodline? Yi Qingtang suddenly frowned slightly, as if she had thought of something. Besides the bloodline of the divine phoenix's inheritance, an immortal and Buddha bloodline existed in her body. Based on what the divine phoenix had said, the heart of the heavenly Tao could be nurtured in her body because of the immense power of the immortal and Buddha bloodline. However, the girl in green possessed the devouring bloodline and could devour all the bloodlines in the world. This meant that her immortal and Buddha bloodline would also be devoured by her. In that case, after the immortal and Buddha bloodline in her body had been devoured, perhaps the heart of the heavenly Tao would also vanish, or perhaps, the girl who had devoured her immortal and Buddha bloodline would become the new vessel. More and more clues and guesses continued to churn in Yi Qingtang's mind. At that moment, Yi Qingtang was unable to ascertain whether her guess was correct. However, Yi Qingtang did not have time to think any further. The girl in green's toes lightly pushed off from the ground, and she leaped over to Yi Qingtang. Yi Qingtang immediately pushed her bewilderment aside and drew her regicide sky blade. With a flick of her wrist, her sword instantly swept downward towards the girl in green. Swoosh! Chapter 940 Devouring Bloodline, 3, a piercing sound filled the space. This area seemed to lie prostrate and tremble under the sword. The scarlet sword gleam filled the air, destroying everything in its path and cutting a wide swath. However, just as Yi Qingtang drew the regicide sky blade, the girl vanished completely. It was as if she had melted into the air, and she was nowhere to be found. Boom, boom, boom. The next moment, a thunderous crash rang out. The scarlet sword gleam had smashed a mountain peak 1,000 meters away, pulverizing it. The gravel fell to the ground like rain. You're pretty powerful. The girl suddenly tore through space, and she walked out from an unknown space. Space transfer. Yi Qingtang was stunned when she saw the girl tear space and walk out from it. This girl's skills were truly frightening. Even an emperor-level cultivator could not compare with this girl's understanding and ability to manipulate space. If not for the fact that they were currently in this mainland where spirit energy was scarce, who knew how terrifying her real ability would be? However, before Yi Qingtang could recover her senses, the girl's right palm lightly touched Yi Qingtang's left shoulder. She said coldly, "Actually, the Divine Phoenix got some things wrong. The Divine Phoenix ascertained that my spirit root was blue. However, I have no spirit root. The blue spirit root was merely an illusion that I created. I could have even created a purple spirit root." The instant the girl in green finished speaking, a purple spirit root exploded within her body. The terrifying power of her spirit root seemed to rend both heaven and earth. All things prostrated themselves and trembled. This girl can actually create an illusion of a spirit root? Yi Qingtang was shocked. In her previous life, Yi Qingtang had been robbed of her spirit root, so her body had no spirit root. She had sought ways to create an illusion of a spirit root, but all these methods could at most create an illusion of the lowest level red spirit root. But this girl in green could even create an illusion of a purple spirit root. In addition, based on what Yi Qingtang knew about the ability to create an illusion of a spirit root, one could only create an illusion of its form. There was no way to create an illusion of the true power of a spirit root. But this girl was different. With such shocking skills, 100, 1,000, or even 10,000 Yus was no match for her. That's not right. In this world, only a reincarnated true God can create an illusion of a spirit root. Yi Qingtang suddenly realized that something was amiss, and she frowned as she spoke. "Oh, you do have some knowledge. Have you found me out?" The girl in green's lips curved upward slightly, and she suddenly smiled mysteriously. "You are a reincarnation of a true God." Yi Qingtang stared at the girl in green. The so-called reincarnation of a true God occurred when a true God died and was reborn as a human. Only when its godlike powers were awakened could it be called a reincarnation of a true God. And only a reincarnation of a true God could easily create the illusion of any spirit root. The girl in green did not respond to Yi Qingtang. She only said coldly, "I am pleased to accept the bloodline of the original Divine Phoenix." As the girl spoke, Yi Qingtang felt the bloodline within her body boiling. It was as if even her soul was being sucked out of her body. Not bad. The bloodline of the original Divine Phoenix is truly powerful. "I am satisfied," the girl in green said coldly. "Ling Yan, what do you mean by allowing this person to devour the power of my bloodline?" Yi Qingtang frowned deeply. Ling Yan's words reverberated in her mind. Chapter 941 Devouring Bloodline. 4. Yi Qingtang did not understand Ling Yan's true intentions, but she instinctively chose to believe Ling Yan. She had a strange feeling that Ling Yan would never harm her. Otherwise, although Yi Qingtang was no match for the girl in green, the girl in green could not prevent her from fleeing either. The moment the original Divine Phoenix's bloodline was sucked out of her body, the heavenly demon pearl that Yi Qingtang had swallowed exploded in an unimaginable burst of heavenly demon aura. A furious roar exploded within Yi Qingtang's body. The power of the original heavenly demon gushed forth like a flood breaking its dam. It began to strip the power from the bloodline of the girl in green. Original heavenly demon aura. The girl in green's pupils constricted, and her expression changed drastically. Yi Qingtang had original heavenly demon aura in her body. Furthermore, Yi Qingtang had not yet fully digested the original heavenly demon aura. When she sensed the incursion by the heavenly demon aura that had begun to devour her bloodline, the girl was enraged. "You, who exactly are you? Why do you have original heavenly demon aura within you?" The girl in green shouted coldly at Yi Qingtang. Yi Qingtang had not moved at all. It was as if her body was beyond her control. Instead, it was being controlled by the power of the heavenly demon pearl. After a short while, the girl in green gritted her teeth and tried to move the hand that she had placed on Yi Qingtang's shoulder. However, the girl in green did not succeed. It was as if the hand that she had placed on Yi Qingtang's shoulders had grown roots. It would not budge even an inch. As the minutes and seconds ticked by, the girl in green's face became ashen. You dare to devour my devouring bloodline." The girl's expression was cold and vicious. She could clearly sense Yi Qingtang devouring the devouring bloodline in her body bit by bit. The reality was that Yi Qingtang did not want to devour the girl in green's bloodline, but her body was being controlled by the power of the heavenly demon pearl. All this was caused by the heavenly demon pearl and was not Yi Qingtang's intention. Puff! After 15 minutes, the girl in green spat out fresh blood. She staggered as she stumbled backward. My devouring bloodline. The girl in green gritted her teeth as she glared at Yi Qingtang. Her devouring bloodline had been seized by Yi Qingtang. Although she usually devoured the bloodlines of others, the girl in green had not dreamt that today, her bloodline would be devoured instead. The aura of the heavenly demon pearl had dissipated. Yi Qingtang was now in control of her body again, and her expression was filled with shock. Yi Qingtang clearly sensed that an extremely strong and potent bloodline had been added to her body. The power of this bloodline seemed to appear out of nowhere. It was the heavenly demon pearl that devoured the girl in green's devouring bloodline instead. Yi Qingtang's expression was rather strange. The heavenly demon pearl originated from the body of the original heavenly demon. It was the accumulation of a lifetime of essence of the original heavenly demon. The girl's devouring bloodline was evolved from the heavenly demon's bloodline. Just now, when the girl in green used the heavenly demon devouring bloodline to devour the power of her bloodline, it had angered the heavenly demon pearl. Instead, the heavenly demon pearl had seized the devouring bloodline of the girl in green, and Yi Qingtang had reaped the benefits. That means, I now have the heavenly demon devouring bloodline. Yi Qingtang snapped out of her reverie after a long time. This bloodline could be said to be the most terrifying and powerful bloodline in the world. However, Yi Qingtang had now unaccountably seized the heavenly demon devouring bloodline of the girl in green. Chapter 942 Devouring Bloodline 5. Yi Qingtang looked at the girl in green and said coldly, "Your heavenly demon devouring bloodline is truly terrifying. But I must thank you." Yi Qingtang served the girl in green with her own words. With just the divine phoenix bloodline, she had exchanged it for the heavenly demon devouring bloodline. As she spoke, the corners of Yi Qingtang's lips curved upwards into a bone-chilling smile. She strode over to the girl in green. Who knew how many powerful bloodlines the girl in green had devoured using her heavenly demon devouring bloodline? Now, she herself possessed the heavenly demon devouring bloodline. If she could devour all the girl's bloodlines. Good, very good, the girl in green stared at Yi Qingtang. Her expression was gloomy. Change is bound to happen. Today, you have seized my heavenly demon devouring bloodline. In the future, I will force you to repay me 1,000,000 times over. When the girl in green finished speaking, her entire person suddenly integrated into space and she vanished on the spot as if she had evaporated. Yi Qingtang only relaxed when she was certain that the girl in green had left completely. This situation was completely unexpected. Yi Qingtang had been content with the original phoenix bloodline from the inheritance of the divine phoenix. Now, she had seized the girl in green's heavenly demon devouring bloodline in some strange way and could devour the power of all the bloodlines in this world. The devouring bloodline was a power that was absolutely taboo. It could make a cultivator invincible but could also force them into eternal damnation. Yi Qingtang was certain that once others knew that she possessed the heavenly demon devouring bloodline, she would be relentlessly pursued to the death. Possessing the devouring bloodline was a sin. In this world, no one hoped that the power of their bloodline would be devoured by someone else. As a result, once someone who possessed the devouring bloodline was discovered, the results were easily predictable. What the fuck? Devouring bloodline, little white tiger suddenly poked its head out of Yi Qingtang's arms. With a shocked expression, it said, "You are incredibly lucky. It's actually the devouring bloodline. This kind of bloodline can easily devour the power of us fiend celestial beasts." Oh. Yi Qingtang was shocked. The devouring bloodline seldom appeared in this world. In both her lives, Yi Qingtang had heard of the devouring bloodline but had never seen it. Only the most outstanding among the heavenly demon clan can possess the devouring bloodline. Further, the heavenly demon clan is an alien race. In primordial times, it almost extinguished all living beings. In the end, the true God created a barrier and drove them into an alien space. However, the heavenly demon clan said that they would return someday, the little white tiger said thoughtfully. Yi Qingtang now possessed the heavenly demon devouring bloodline. If the heavenly demon clan should break through the seal one day, would they take Yi Qingtang for one of their own? This is the first time I have come into contact with the devouring bloodline. You said just now that the devouring bloodline can even devour the power of the fiend celestial beasts? Yi Qingtang asked as she looked at the little white tiger. That's right. The little white tiger nodded vigorously. There is no power that the devouring bloodline cannot devour. Even if you meet the true God, you can devour all his power and transform it into a part of yourself. That's why the devouring bloodline is called the taboo bloodline of power. If the bloodlines were ranked, the devouring bloodline would be superior to the power of thousands of other bloodlines. It is one of the powerful primordial bloodlines. Chapter 943 We Meet Again, 1, In that case, want to let me try devouring you? Yi Qingtang looked at little white tiger meaningfully. It's just like you to bully me, we're allies, why would you devour me? The little white tiger repeatedly shook its head. The little white tiger immediately leaped from Yi Qingtang's arms to the ground. It picked up a stone in its mouth and threw it at Yi Qingtang's feet. Go on, try to devour it. You want me to devour a stone? The corners of Yi Qingtang's lips twitched. That's right. Try it. The little white tiger nodded. Yi Qingtang had no choice but to use her devouring power. A black glow shrouded the stone. The next instant, there was a cracking noise, and the stone exploded into fine powder, then transforming into nothing. However, Yi Qingtang was surprised to discover that the stone actually contained a trace of spirit energy, which she digested. What the fuck? It's so twisted. The little white tiger was rendered speechless. Not only can he devouring bloodline devour bloodlines, but it can also devour all the energy in this world. Even spirit roots can be easily devoured. However, with your present ability and cultivation level, you've done well to devour a stone. If you want to devour the power of a human's bloodline and cultivation, you will need to cultivate for a few more years. Of course, Yi Qingtang understood what the little white tiger was saying. It was not true that just anyone who obtained a powerful bloodline could immediately use it perfectly. Like the girl in green, with her inscrutable martial talent and cultivation. Even if the true God was reborn, she could at most devour the power of a bloodline but would be unable to devour the power of cultivation. Furthermore, Yi Qingtang was currently only a yin-yang perfected Lord 7th Heaven. She was doing pretty well to be able to devour some plants, but she was unable to devour the power of another person's bloodline. Of course, Yi Qingtang was not interested in devouring other people's bloodlines. Yi Qingtang would never actively seize someone else's bloodline or cultivation, as it was contrary to her principles. But if anyone tried to kill her, Yi Qingtang would naturally not be bothered with morals or principles. In summary, if others did not threaten her, Yi Qingtang would not actively seize other people's bloodline or cultivation. But if someone insisted on opposing her or tried to kill her, then Yi Qingtang's devouring bloodline would teach him a lesson. Before Yi Qingtang had time to think further, a slender figure slowly approached. "Miss Yi, do you like my present?" A laughing voice rang out. When she heard the voice, Yi Qingtang turned around and saw a handsome, smiling man. His hair waved in the wind. He looked radiant and extraordinarily elegant. "Ling Yan," Yi Qingtang frowned. "Wasn't that Ling Yan? Why do you enjoy involving me in your schemes?" Ling Yan laughed softly when he heard Yi Qingtang's words. "What does Miss Yi mean? I have never done anything to Miss Yi's disadvantage." "Of course I know that," Yi Qingtang said. "I meant that you should discuss your schemes with me beforehand. I am always the last to know about them." Yi Qingtang was already considered intelligent, but she found it difficult to cross swords with Ling Yan, who had near demonic intelligence. Heaven knows how this fellow had gotten a brain like that. It was as if he held heaven and earth in the palm of his hand. "Miss Yi, if I told you earlier, I'm afraid it would cause some changes, but of course, if Miss Yi doesn't like it, I will discuss them with you next time." Ling Yan smiled good-naturedly. Chapter 944 We Meet Again, 2. Before Yi Qingtang could speak further, her gaze suddenly fell onto something next to Ling Yan. The silver wolf, who had been lost in the previous chaos, was now standing quietly next to Ling Yan. "Xiao Guai, where have you been?" Yi Qingtang looked at the silver wolf with some surprise. The silver wolf was quietly following Ling Yan and seemed intent on ignoring Yi Qingtang. This was the first time that the silver wolf had ignored her, and Yi Qingtang felt that it was rather strange. She knew that the silver wolf was proud and aloof. It usually ignored everyone. But she was the only exception. Now, why was Xiao Guai ignoring her too? "Does Miss Yi like my silver wolf?" Ling Yan laughed when he saw the situation. "Yours?" Yi Qingtang was taken aback when she heard Ling Yan's words. "Xiao Guai is mine." "Very well, since Miss Yi says so, then it belongs to Miss Yi." Ling Yan nodded and turned to look at the silver wolf. "Hadn't you better go over?" W000000. When it heard Ling Yan's words, the silver wolf unwillingly walked over to Yi Qingtang. But it looked back every few steps, as if it could not bear to leave Ling Yan. Yi Qingtang was speechless when she saw the silver wolf's resentful expression. What is wrong with Xiao Guai? Could it be that Ling Yan's demonic intelligence had even allowed him to subdue the wolf? That's right, the devouring bloodline. Miss Yi needs to use it cautiously. Do not allow anyone to find out about it. Just as Yi Qingtang was puzzling over the sudden change in Xiao Guai's personality, Ling Yan suddenly spoke to her. When he mentioned the devouring bloodline, Yi Qingtang's earlier suspicions awoke in her heart again. She looked at Ling Yan. "Ling Yan, was this a part of your scheme? How did you know that the girl had the devouring bloodline? How did this happen and how will it end?" Yi Qingtang was unable to understand Ling Yan's schemes. Probably no one on earth could guess what Ling Yan was thinking. "That girl was a member of the Jiang family," said Ling Yan. Yi Qingtang was not surprised. The fact that she possessed the heavenly demon bloodline meant she was probably from the Jiang family. "Let me tell you." Little Azure Dragon, who had followed Ling Yan, cleared its throat and said. Ling Yan is familiar with the Jiang family. The girl left the Jiang family when she was young and traveled to the second domain. After she grew up, her heavenly demon bloodline transformed into the devouring bloodline. The Jiang family found out and searched far and wide for the girl. Then Ling Yan received news that the girl had reached this mainland and entered the dragon vein. The girl had previously devoured someone else's phoenix bloodline. After entering the dragon vein, she was sure to head towards the inheritance of the divine phoenix. Further, as Miss Yes' only opponent was the girl, one of two outcomes were certain to arise. What are the two outcomes? The little white tiger was curious. The first outcome was that the girl would obtain the inheritance of the divine phoenix. The little azure dragon spoke mysteriously. The second outcome was that Yi Qingtang would obtain the inheritance of the divine phoenix. If the girl obtained the inheritance of the divine phoenix, after she saw the power of Yi Qingtang's rise of the phoenix, she would certainly try to devour it. However, once the girl and Miss Yi crossed swords, Miss Yes' heavenly demon pearl would certainly react and seize the power of the girl's devouring bloodline. Little Azure Dragon smiled and said, the second outcome was that Yi Qingtang would obtain the inheritance of the divine phoenix, and the girl, unwilling to resign herself, would seize Miss Yes' divine phoenix bloodline. Chapter 945 We Meet Again, 3, but the conclusion would be the same. The heavenly demon pearl has the aura of the original heavenly demon. The moment the girl acted against Yi Qingtang, her devouring bloodline would be seized by the power of the heavenly demon pearl. The conclusion would be the same, regardless of the outcome. Little Azure Dragon finished slowly. Ling Yan, what a great scheme. But what if there was someone else with the phoenix bloodline among the cultivators who came to the inheritance of the divine phoenix, and he was chosen by the divine phoenix? Then, the successor would be neither Yi Qingtang nor the girl in green. Wouldn't your scheme fall through? The little white tiger was not convinced. That is impossible because Ling Yan already checked, and no one else possessed the phoenix bloodline. Even if they did, it would be an inferior phoenix bloodline, and the divine phoenix would not choose him. Even a superior phoenix bloodline would be inferior to Yi Qingtang and the girl, explained the little azure dragon. Fuck you, you're vicious. You win. The little white tiger grunted coldly. Ever since he had entered the dragon vein, everything this Ling Yan had done was seemingly unrelated. But in reality, when he strung them together, they formed an interlocking chain that one could not guard against. Ever since Yi Qingtang had blocked the knife, it had been one grand, shocking scheme. Further, the chain reaction caused by the knife included killing perfected Gu Yun, obtaining the heavenly demon pearl, making everyone believe Yi Qingtang was a cultivator from the Jiang family, and finally the power of the heavenly demon pearl seizing the devouring bloodline and so on. This kind of person was just too horrifying, with all kinds of evil plots and benign schemes. Even if one knew it was a trap, one had no choice but to grit one's teeth and jump in. What the fuck, that's not right, Ling Yan. The little white tiger suddenly looked at Ling Yan. If you didn't give the heavenly demon pearl to Yi Qingtang but personally came to the inheritance of the divine phoenix and provoked the girl into fighting you, you could have used the power of the heavenly demon pearl and seized the girl's devouring bloodline yourself. If you had the devouring bloodline, coupled with your schemes, you would definitely be comparable with the true God within a few years. But you gave the heavenly demon pearl to Yi Qingtang instead. Why was that? Even Yi Qingtang herself could not understand, much less the little white tiger. Ling Yan could predict everything down to the last detail. Based on his intelligence, it would be only too easy to gain power. Why would he give her all these opportunities? When he heard that, Ling Yan smiled and said, I felt that Miss Yi needed the devouring bloodline more than I did. Miss Ye's calamity is probably greater than mine. Also, although I may have lost the opportunity to become comparable with the true God, Miss Yi can protect me in the future, isn't it? As he spoke, Ling Yan's smiling gaze seemed to fall on Yi Qingtang. Yi Qingtang was speechless. Pfft. Little White Tiger scoffed. You'll never believe that you need anyone to protect you. You're being stupid. The little azure dragon glared at the little white tiger. He is worried about Yi Qingtang's safety. After possessing the devouring bloodline, Yi Qingtang can become more powerful. He would rather forego his chance to become comparable to the true god. Do you understand? Oh. I understand. The little white tiger studied Yi Qingtang meaningfully. However, without giving Yi Qingtang a chance to speak, Ling Yan laughed and said, "Miss Yi, you had better leave this mainland as soon as possible." Why? Yi Qingtang was perplexed. Because, Ling Yan smiled. I am going to destroy this mainland with the power of the true dragon. What did you say? Yi Qingtang frowned deeply after hearing Ling Yan's words. Was this Ling Yan actually going to use the power of the true dragon to destroy this mainland? Chapter 946 Price 1. This mainland was transformed by a spiritual abode, and a hidden ancient clan in the central mainland has already received the news. In no time, they will come here to destroy everything and obtain the spiritual abode. I want to destroy this mainland before them so they will not be able to obtain the spiritual abode, said Ling Yan. Ling Yan had some enmity with that ancient clan, and his ultimate objective of coming to this mainland was to destroy it. Otherwise, once that ancient clan obtains the spiritual abode, their powers would skyrocket such that they would be able to control the first domain. Ling Yan, you can destroy this mainland. Yi Qingtang took a deep breath before looking up to meet Ling Yan's eyes. Over my dead body. You don't wish for me to do that? Ling Yan asked gently as he looked at her bright eyes. My loved ones and friends are in this mainland. It is where I am raised and nurtured until now. Yi Qingtang replied. Perhaps Ling Yan's skills were not anything significant, but what was really scary about him was his intelligence. If he really wished to do that, no one would be able to guess how he would go about it. After listening to what Yi Qingtang said, Ling Yan pondered for a moment and eventually said, it's possible to not destroy this mainland, but you must pay a certain price. What price? Yi Qingtang asked instinctively. Yi Qingtang looked at Ling Yan, perplexed. To protect this mainland, she still had to pay a price. However, it seemed that Ling Yan still had not understood the situation. Leaving aside the fact that Yi Qingtang was already at the Yin-Yang perfected Lord's seventh heaven realm and possesses the devouring bloodline and original phoenix bloodline, given Ling Yan's martial skills, it was child's play to kill Ling Yan even if her skills had not improved. However, Yi Qingtang did not wish for such a thing to happen. She did not want this mainland to be destroyed in Ling Yan's hands, and neither did she wish to hurt Ling Yan. She could not kill Ling Yan as he played a part in her rebirth, not to mention the several times he helped her before. The so-called price, however, piqued Yi Qingtang's curiosity. Ling Yan walked forward slowly as his crescent-like eyes stared right into her eyes. Before Yi Qingtang returned to her senses, Ling Yan's lips touched Yi Qingtang's lips gently like a dragonfly skimming the water surface and parted immediately after a touch. The slight warmth that came with the contact disappeared instantly. It seemed unreal. Dumbfounded, Yi Qingtang looked at Ling Yan in surprise. This is the price that you have to pay. Ling Yan stared at Yi Qingtang and said slowly as he flashed an unknowing smile. The price, that she had to pay. Yi Qingtang recovered from her surprise. An unreal warmth seemed to still linger on her lips. In just a moment, Yi Qingtang widened her eyes, and she glared at Ling Yan. For some reason, she felt that this scene was familiar. Yi Qingtang was about to slap this fellow, but before she could lash out, Ling Yan's expression suddenly turned serious, and he said, if I don't destroy this mainland, I'm afraid it will still be taken away by the ancient clan. The miserable fate of this mainland is still unavoidable. Yi Qingtang was taken aback. The impulse to slap Ling Yan was all gone as all her attention was instantly attracted by what Ling Yan said. Chapter 947 Price, 2, I will not let such a thing happen, Yi Qingtang said as determination filled her eyes. Yi Qingtang had an extremely special attachment to this mainland, regardless of whether she was a citizen here. In this mainland, there was the Yi family who raised her, the sex where she learned her skills from, there were too many sentiments as well as feelings attached. Yi Qingtang lived 2 times, and if she could not even protect this mainland, what was the meaning of her rebirth? Ling Yan looked at Yi Qingtang, whose attention was successfully diverted away, and a smile fleeted across his eyes. Then, he said calmly, I originally wanted to destroy this mainland directly, but since you're unwilling to, then forget about it. Currently, 2 out of the 3 great inheritances in this dragon vein belong to you. This trip can be considered to be successful and completed. Yi Qingtang was thankful for Ling Yan about this. Without Ling Yan's assistance, she would definitely be unable to obtain such destinies on this trip. Not only did she gain the original Phoenix bloodline inheritance and the Heavenly Demon inheritance, she even seized the Heavenly Demon devouring bloodline from that girl in green. Ling Yan's words truly faded Yi Qingtang's intention to slap him by a large amount. She faintly sensed that whatever Ling Yan said a while ago seemed to be diverting her attention, but what was speechless was. What he said was really not simple. Furthermore, as the saying went, to receive a gift was to sell one's liberty. Moreover, with Ling Yan's skills, her slap might just kill him. Let's go quickly. With the 3 great inheritances in the dragon vein all gone, the 3 major forces on this mainland will definitely be alarmed. There's no need to continue creating more problems. The little azure dragon advised. Yi Qingtang fully agreed with what it said. The Peerless School, Phantom Valley, and Biming Manor were the most powerful forces of this mainland. Even with Yi Qingtang's current cultivation base, she might not be able to stand any bargain if she fought all 3 of them head-on. Half a day later, Yi Qingtang and Ling Yan left the Dragon Vein and reached a deserted land before they entered the Dragon Vein. Ling Yan, did you come to this mainland just for the Dragon Vein? Yi Qingtang looked at Ling Yan and asked. My goals, smiles filled Ling Yan's eyes as though nothing happened at all before, and he replied slowly. There are too many goals but almost all are achieved. Naturally, destroying this mainland was one of my original objectives, but it was rejected by you. That is also my only unaccomplished goal. Of course, the greatest goal for coming to this mainland is still you, Miss Yi. Then, Ling Yan's eyes naturally landed on Yi Qingtang as a seeming smile formed on his face. Regarding Ling Yan's shocking remarks from time to time, Yi Qingtang had already chosen to consciously ignore them. In this dragon vein, Yi Qingtang once saw her past in the Putti tree, where she ultimately learned that the person who helped her to be reborn was not anyone else but Ling Yan. In this entire world, Ling Yan was probably the only one who could achieve such a remarkable feat with his karma bloodline. Although Yi Qingtang was curious and wished to know why Ling Yan helped her to be reborn, she was unable to ask such a thing currently. After all, the person who allowed her rebirth was the Ling Yan from her previous life and not the current one. Even if she questioned him now, Ling Yan might not know anything either, and there would be no point in asking then. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.